Chapter 755. Fang Qingshan finally understood why the seven fairies would come here 3 times a day to take a bath. Not to mention the benefits to one's cultivation, just the skin-soothing effect alone was enough to make one forget to return and be reluctant to part. Fang Qingshan had seen his fair share of spiritual springs. The birth-fall spring not long ago, the 100-flower spring in Eternal World, the peacock spring in High Firmament City. However, when compared to the Monda spring, they were still somewhat lacking. Fang Qingshan could feel his body being subtly tempered. His primordial spirit had a slight understanding of the solar primary fire. Although the effect was not very obvious, it was already very good to be able to have such an effect. It had to be said that with the strength of Fang Qingshan's fleshly body and his understanding of the 5 elements, ordinary items could not be improved. This Monda spring could actually improve one's strength, as expected of the Golden Crow. However, this effect was just a drop in the bucket for Fang Qingshan. It was only slightly better than meditating and circulating one's spiritual energy. Normally, with such good conditions, Fang Qingshan would be willing to stay in the hot spring all the time. Not only was the effect better, it was also more comfortable than meditating. However, now was not the time. The most important thing right now was to find the secret of the Monda spring. Therefore, he only sensed it for a moment before focusing his attention on the secret of the Monda spring. Fang Qingshan dove into the Monda spring and dived to the bottom. Looking at the gurgling spring, Fang Qingshan immediately furrowed his brows. This was because apart from seeing spring water flowing out of the spring, he didn't see anything else. Apart from a few small holes, there was nothing else around. Thinking about it, Fang Qingshan could understand. If the secret of this place was so easy to discover, it would have long been grasped by the 7 fairies or the heavenly court. After sorting out his thoughts, Fang Qingshan activated his yin-yang eye and carefully examined the space at the bottom of the spring. Unfortunately, even after inspecting inch by inch, Fang Qingshan could not discover anything. How strange. Could it be that the Monda spring does not have any secrets? Or perhaps the 7 fairies have already discovered the secret of this place? Fang Qingshan was puzzled. His yin-yang eye scanned every inch of space, but he didn't find anything. There was only one possibility, and that was that he really didn't hide anything. Of course, sages were an exception. However, sages were not that bored. Unless it was a primordial treasure, there was basically nothing that could move them. Furthermore, if a sage was interested in it, he could just take it away. There would be no need to go through so much trouble. Could it be that I have to do the same as Womanland and use the time reversal technique? Fang Qingshan frowned. No, there's still one place we haven't explored yet. Fang Qingshan suddenly had a flash of inspiration. The only place at the bottom of the spring that Fang Qingshan had not explored was the mouth of the spring. He was almost ignored just now. There is indeed a ghost here. Under Fang Qingshan's careful observation, he found that there was something wrong with the mouth of the spring. Fang Qingshan discovered a layer of restriction on it. It wasn't an attack, nor was it a defense, nor was it a seal. It was just a layer of illusion that had the effect of deceiving the heavens and changing the sun. It was very mysterious. It was also because of this layer of illusion that Fang Qingshan almost neglected it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful! Fang Qingshan couldn't help but clap and praise after carefully looking at this layer of restriction. Ever since he broke the primordial array of the Permitha Bridge, Fang Qingshan's array Dao cultivation had improved greatly. However, based on his observation, although this restriction was simple, there were only a handful of people in the world who could set up such an array. This was because the simpler something was, the more difficult it was to make it profound. For example, if you asked a chef to cook a few unique skills, it would be a piece of cake. However, if you asked them to cook a simple cabbage, the difference in level would be immediately obvious. The simpler the dish, the more skills and fire control would be required. Thinking about it, this cleansing filth spring was formed by the Golden Crow. The person who had set up this formation was about to be revealed. June. There were a total of 4 people in the world who represented the highest level of array Dao cultivation. One of them was the sect leader of Tongtian. The Jie school was renowned for its array Dao. As for the other three, they were all demons. They were Kuan Peng, Fuxi, and Dijun. Kuan Peng was known as the demon master not only because he created the demon language, but also because the appearance of the Zhoutian star array was closely related to him. Before Fuxi became a human, he was already a famous array Dao master. After becoming a human emperor, he used the primordial 8 trigrams to create thousands of arrays in the world. As for the Book of the Luo and the river diagram in Dijun's possession, it was because of these two treasures that Fuxi had mastered the primordial 8 trigrams. It was also him who worked with Kuan Peng, Fuxi, and the others to deduce the Zhoutian star array, one of the 3 ultimate arrays of desolation. Back then, when Hui shot the sun, 9 out of 10 golden crows were killed. When he collected their bodies, he found that the bodies of the golden crows had combined with the power of the earth veins and turned into the 9 yang spring, just like how Kwa Fu's body turned into a peach forest after his death. Dijun was devastated, but he didn't lose his mind. Relying on the deduction effect of the Book of the Luo and the river diagram, he found a chance of survival. In order to control the demons, Dijun refined the demon race's treasure, the demon summoning banner. Not only could this treasure control the Yao race and suppress their fate, but it could also give the Yao race an additional chance at survival. As long as they weren't completely wiped out, they could use the wisp of primordial spirit in the demon summoning banner to cultivate it back. Even the other members of the Fiend clan had such means, not to mention the precious 10 little golden crows. They naturally had methods similar to the lantern tree in Fangqingshan's timeless Arkansas. However, the golden crow's negative karma was too heavy, so much so that these methods were not of any use. Fortunately, although they didn't revive the golden crows on the spot, they still retained a trace of their remnant souls. Thus, Dijun threw these remnant souls into the 9 yang spring. The sky was yang, the earth was yin, the golden crows were yang, and the earth veins were yin. Yin and yang were born and created. Dijun wanted to use the power of yin and yang to revive the golden crows. Such a heaven-defying method was obviously not tolerated by the heavens. Besides, no one in the world wanted to see the golden crows revive except for the demons. Thus, to be on the safe side, Dijun didn't tell anyone. He relied on the great tribulation of heaven and earth, which even sages couldn't predict. He also got Dongwang Tai to use the Bell of Chaos to muddy the heavenly secrets. He had quietly completed everything by himself. At the same time, he made some arrangements in the 9 yang spring to prevent others from discovering anything. Thus, everyone thought that the golden crows were dead. Even Luya didn't know about this. Furthermore, after the Great Shaman Demon War, the Lich demons were defeated. Dijun, Dongwang Tai, and Shiho were all dead. Naturally, no one cared about the dead golden crows. Chapter 756. Time was the thing that helped people forget. Whether one was a commoner, an emperor, a general, an immortal, a demon, or even a saint like Daozu, as time wore on, one would gradually be forgotten. As such, even Dijun, Tai, and the Lich demon had become distant memories. There was no need to mention the 9 yang spring. Apart from a few people with some background or some old antiques, not many people knew about the 9 yang spring's origin. In everyone's eyes, the 9 yang spring was at most a good place to cultivate. Moreover, the biggest reason it was famous was because the 7 fairies bathed here. Those with high cultivation levels would not be interested in this place. After all, it was only useful to Fangqingshan, not to mention to those with higher cultivation levels than Fangqingshan. Of course, it wasn't that no one had come here, such as Luya. However, he had come to the 9 yang spring mainly because it was where his brother's incarnation was. He had only come to pay his respects and hadn't taken a closer look. Others had come here to find some clues, but their abilities were limited. Thus, the secret of the 9 yang spring had been kept. No, just as Fangqingshan was about to break out of the illusion, he retracted his hand halfway. The 9 Bins Yellow River is 10,000 miles of sand, waves, and winds from the ends of the world. Heaven and earth reverse. Yin and yang reverse. Seal the heavens and lock the earth. Fang Qingshan raised his hand and took out the timeless arc, releasing the 9 bends yellow river painting. In an instant, the array formation could be seen, and the power of the yellow river could be seen. A sinister wind rustled, and a black fog filled the air, obscuring the sun and moon. It was leisurely and indistinct. A tragic aura shot into the sky, and a haze covered the ground. Although he had also set up an array formation above, that array formation couldn't seal off much of a commotion. Moreover, this was the 9-yang spring. If there was something related to the golden crow inside, it would definitely alarm Vairocana. If he were to be drawn here, then things would not be good. During the God conferment, Luya was already not weaker than Randang. He was even stronger than Si Hang and the others, let alone now. Buddhist Morokana, Monk Crow Nest, was one of the most supreme Buddhas, second only to Duo Bao Rulai, Ma Yuri, and a few others. Even when compared to the ancient Dipankara Buddha, the East, glazed Maitreya Buddha, one would probably only know how strong he was after comparing him. Fang Qingshan was not confident that he could defeat Luya. Even if his cultivation had advanced to the grand heavenly realm and the timeless arc had advanced to the peerless realm, it would still be difficult for them to deal with Guanyin, let alone immortal Luya. Moreover, once he was exposed, not only would he not be able to take everything for himself, but he would also attract the attention of others, as well as a terrifying enemy like Luya. This would probably make Guanyin rejoice. Just in case, Fang Qingshan brought out the timeless Arkansas break. Fang Qingshan pointed from afar, and the layer of illusion that enveloped the spring broke. As the seal was broken, Fang Qingshan didn't even have time to react before a wave of energy engulfed him. In the next moment, Fang Qingshan felt dizzy. Without much time to think, Fang Qingshan instantly released the Mystic Essence Water Manipulation flag and wrapped it around himself. He had to protect himself first. When he opened his eyes again, he could not help but suck in a breath of cold air, because at this moment, he seemed to have left the cleansing dirt spring and arrived at the primordial galaxy. The sky was filled with stars, shining resplendently like grains of sand in the Ganges River. It looked so dreamy, mysterious, ancient, vicissitudes, and dangerous. The Zodiac star formation. Fang Qingshan swallowed his saliva and spat out the words one by one. Thinking of the 9 suns, spring, thinking of Dijun, and looking at this scene, this name directly appeared in his mind. Fang Qingshan's pupils shrunk to the size of a needle, and his expression was extremely ugly. If it was the Zodiac star formation, he would not just be in trouble, but in danger. As the top formation in the Desolation formation, it would be good if he did not die, let alone break it in a short time. Most importantly, the Zodiac star formation was not an auxiliary formation. It was also a first-class offensive formation. Billions of stars fell, and it could attack Pangu's real body that the great divine fiend formation had evolved. Even a sage would be in trouble if he fell into it. If he was not careful, he would fail miserably, not to mention Fang Qingshan's small body. Even if he had the timeless arc, he would not survive. He might not even be able to use the all-heaven chessboard to immediately pass through it. This was because the space here had been firmly sealed. Unless he could break the formation space, he would not be able to escape. Thinking about the timeless arc and the all-heaven chessboard, Fang Qingshan's originally sad face suddenly froze. Logically speaking, he was trapped in a Zodiac star formation. The timeless arc could not sense him, and the all-heaven chessboard could not be used. However, what made Fang Qingshan feel strange was that he still had a connection with the timeless arc, but it was not so obvious. The all-heaven chessboard was not restricted, and it could be activated at any time. What's going on? Is this not the Zodiac star formation? Sensing these changes, Fang Qingshan immediately felt relieved. Moreover, after falling into the formation, the attack of the falling stars did not seem to be as strong as he had imagined. With the protection of the Mystic Essence Water Controlling flag, it would not affect him for a while. Or is this the Zodiac star formation, but it is an incomplete version? Fang Qingshan remembered the records of the Zhoutian star formation in his mind. In order to set up this formation to fight against the Wu people's Pan-Gu real body, Eastern Emperor Tai and Dijun collected the origin of 365 ancient stars, combined with the essence of the top divine gold stars, and refined 365 Zhoutian star streamers with a primordial treasure cauldron of heaven and earth. They selected 365 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals from the Demon Clan to take charge of the star streamers. Then, they used the Book of the Luo River Diagram and the Eastern Emperor Bell, a primordial treasure, to suppress the formation eye. That was how the unprecedented Zhoutian star formation came into being. Now, Dijun and Tai were dead, the Eastern Emperor Bell had disappeared, and the Book of the Luo River Diagram had fallen into the hands of Celestial Emperor Fuxi. The star streamers were broken, destroyed, and the rest were swept away by the Kuan Peng to set up a simple Zhoutian star formation in the sky above the northern underworld. As for the 365 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals of the Demon Clan, with the current weakness of the Demon Clan, even Yuhua might not be able to gather all of them. If that was the case, how could the Zhoutian star formation reappear in the world? Just like after the 12 Zhu Wu, there was no great divine fiend formation. During the Battle of Zhilu, Qi Yu had only created a simplified 9x9 mystical Yin formation to replace it. Phew! After figuring this out, Fang Qingshan could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. It wasn't that he was worried. In truth, the heavenly cycle stellar formation's reputation had spread far and wide. Not to mention him, even a sage would probably have a drastic change of expression when faced with it. Chapter 757. Since it was not the real Zhoutian star array, although the chessboard could be used, safety was guaranteed. Fang Qingshan's heart, which was about to fall into a dead silence, finally came back to life. Only then did he have the mood to look at the array formation in front of him. As usual, he used the yin-yang eye to see through it bit by bit. Of course, it did not mean that he had completely understood it. He just had a general understanding. I see. After a long while, Fang Qingshan retracted his divine senses. This Zhoutian star array was more like a Zhoutian star catalog. Yes, Fang Qingshan was now in a Zhoutian star catalog. This treasure was refined by Dijun when he borrowed the Heaven and Earth Cauldron to refine the star banner. He originally wanted to refine an array diagram for the Zhoutian star array. This way, not only would it be easier to set up the array formation, but the power of the array formation would also be enhanced. Unfortunately, the Zhoutian star array was already very heaven-defying. It was simply wishful thinking to refine an array diagram. If he succeeded, the outcome of the great war of sorcerers and demons would probably be changed. Not to mention the sages, even Hongjun Tiandao would not agree to this. If the three primordial races did not decline, there would not be any liches and demons. If the liches and demons did not decline, how could the human race step onto the stage of history? If the human race could not rise, how could the sages rule the world? What did you say? There were liches and demons? Haha, Wu people only knew Pan-Gu, but they did not know Hongjun Tiandao. The demon race only respected the demon emperor, and they did not even care about Yuhua. Therefore, there was an irreconcilable conflict between the sages and liches. Either the east wind prevailed over the west wind, or the west wind prevailed over the east wind. In fact, Dijun was not the first to have such an idea. Back in the primordial times, during the Dragon Phoenix Tribulation, it was not that the demon ancestor had not thought of refining a formation diagram for the immortal slaying sword formation. Unfortunately, after working for half a day, he still did not succeed. In the end, he could only make a counterfeit version, using a 12th grade Black Lotus as a substitute. In the end, Daozu had to fuse a broken 12th stage Black Lotus with some other precious treasures to refine it with the cauldron of heaven and earth. At the end of the day, firstly, the cultivation of the devil ancestor in Dijun was too low. Secondly, Hongjun Tiandao was not accurate. Similarly, it was also because of the celestial slaying sword formation. Fang Qingshan's master, Laozi, went for wool and came home shorn. After the God Conferment War, the Grand Master of Heaven retreated in defeat, and even Duobao was captured by Laozi using the Windfire meditation cushion. The 4 immortal vanquishing swords fell into the hands of Guangqingzi and the others, while the immortal vanquishing array diagram fell into the hands of Duobao. I don't know the origin of the immortal slaying sword formation, but because it's just a treasure, I didn't care. Besides, he was too embarrassed to fight with his martial nephew. Although the 3 pure ones only existed in name, the sages still cared about their reputation. During the God Conferment War, the internal strife of the mystic sects benefited the Buddhist sections. As the eldest senior brother of the mystic sects, Laozi naturally wouldn't sit still and wait for death. Thus, he went out of seclusion and became a Buddha, letting Duobao establish the Mahayana sect and share the providence of the Buddhist sections. At the beginning, Jane and Junti naturally wanted to eat his flesh raw. However, in the end, they discovered that Duobao actually had the celestial slaying sword formation and used it to suppress the providence of the Mahayana sect. They almost celebrated. The reason why they were so happy was naturally because the celestial slaying sword formation was refined from a portion of the Black Lotus of Destruction. At that time, the 12th-stage Golden Lotus had just been devoured by Mosquito Dauren. Its providence was unstable and its foundation was shaken. However, they didn't expect that when there was no way out, there would be light at the end of the tunnel. Duobao established the Mahayana sect and divided the providence. Not only did it not make things worse for the Buddhist sects, but it also gave them a chance to strengthen the Buddhist sections. The 2 of them were also decisive people. For the sake of the Buddhist sects, they could take it up and let it go. Otherwise, Zhuni would not have the notorious reputation of being a 1 foot higher sky. The 2 of them made a prompt decision and found Duobao. They made a promise and directly entrusted the Buddhist sects to him. The 2 of them retreated. That was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Firstly, Daozu had already made it clear that saints could not appear unless it was a cataclysm. Moreover, he had to rope in an expert like Duobao and ensure that the Buddhist sects would not split. If he did that, not only would he shatter his father's plot, but he would also strengthen the Buddhist sections. Duobao was originally very dissatisfied with his father and the primordial being working together and even attracting Zhuni and the other 2 to deal with his master. He was originally the eldest disciple of Jie School, and the 10,000 immortals of Jie School came to the Desolation sect. What about now? The tree of Jie School fell and scattered. He watched as he built a tall building, held a banquet, and watched as his building collapsed. The vast expanse of whiteness was so clean. He himself became a prisoner and was arranged to join his enemy. Does Duobao not have any resentment in his heart? On the other hand, it was a matter of interest. If Duobao became the master of the Buddhist sect, his cultivation level would definitely increase by leaps and bounds. At that time, if the saint did not appear, who in the celestial sect of wonders would be able to stop him? Therefore, be it for revenge or for his own cultivation, Duobao and Junti hit it off. Hence, Duobao took advantage of the situation and joined the Buddhist sect. With the help of the Buddhist sect's destiny, he became the #1 expert below the saint. The Buddhist sect also rose because of him, the #1 expert. Following that, under Duobao's push, the Buddhist sect prospered at a rapid pace. Under the suppression of the Buddhist sect, the celestial sect of wonders encountered an unprecedented challenge. After all, there are not many people in Ren School to begin with. Although Chan School had won the God Conferment War, their vitality was greatly injured because of the betrayal of Randang, C.I. Hang, and the others. They had been licking their wounds. Jie School disappeared. In that case, the celestial sect of wonders would be in trouble when faced with the menacing Buddhists. I can only suffer in silence. I can't say anything. As the eldest senior brother of the celestial sect of wonders, he suppressed the other saints with an absolute advantage. However, he didn't expect that he would be defeated by a junior after spending all his time hunting wild geese. He calculated the heavens and the earth, but he missed out on the human heart. That was a little far-fetched. Come to think of it, because Di Jun's cultivation level was not high enough, he failed to refine the array diagram of the Zodiac star array. However, it did not mean that he did not gain anything. Although he did not succeed in refining the overall array diagram, he had refined 9 simplified versions of the Zodiac star catalog. They were all postnatal cardinal treasures. Although they could not compare to connate cardinal treasures, if that was the case, the array diagram would have been refined successfully. However, they were also comparable to top-notch connate numinous treasures. He could quickly use them to set up simplified versions of the Zodiac star array, just like how Chi had set up the 9-9 mysterious Een array and the great heavenly divine fiend array. As for why it was a postnatal cardinal treasure and not a connate numinous treasure, after all, the greatest effect of the cosmic cauldron was to reverse the connate heavens. The reason was very simple. There was no free lunch in the world. If there were gains, there would definitely be losses. He was willing to give up. He would only gain if he gave up. However, if he wanted to reverse the Zodiac star catalog to the connate heavens, he would have to pay a huge price, especially since it was a failed product. The gains would not make up for the losses. Therefore, regardless of whether it was the Zodiac star banner or the Zodiac star catalog, Dijun did not use that function. Chapter 758. These failed heavenly cycle stellar catalog should have been used in the sorcerer and demon battlefield to fight against the sorcerer tribe. After all, even though they weren't the real Zodiac star array catalog, they could quickly set up a simplified version of a minor heavenly cycle array. It might not be enough to deal with Zhu Wu, but it would be very effective against the Grand Magi. However, plans couldn't keep up with changes. The death of the 9 golden crows changed Jun's mind. Even though the enemy was important, his son was more important. In order to better conceal his plan to resurrect the golden crows, he directly integrated the 9 Zodiac star catalogs into the 9 Yang Spring. On one hand, it was used to protect the golden crows, and on the other hand, it was used to transform the Zodiac star catalog into a blessed land, manifesting the desolation starry sky, and cooperating with the desolation earth veins to resurrect the golden crows faster. How pitiful the hearts of parents in the world. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. Little did he know that the great sorcerer and demon war had shaken the heavens and cracked the earth. The great war of God investiture directly broke the great barren continent and turned it into the 4 great continents. The changes in the earth veins had affected the means he had set up. Therefore, from ancient times until now, there was still no sign of the golden crow coming back to life. Even though the golden crows still hadn't shown any signs of resurrection, the 9 Yang Spring was becoming more and more mysterious. That was why the 7 fairies came to bathe 3 times a day. It wasn't that they hadn't thought of exploring the secret of the 9 Yang Spring, but with their knowledge of array formations and cultivation, they couldn't do it even if they cultivated for thousands of years. Of course, there were some who had accidentally stumbled upon the secret of the spring, or real array formation geniuses. Unfortunately, falling into the Zodiac star catalog would only result in death. After all, even though the Zodiac star catalog was only a failed product of the Zodiac star array catalog, it was still a postnatal cardinal treasure, comparable to a top-notch connate numinous treasure. Even a zenith heaven golden immortal would most likely die if he fell into it. If someone was in charge, even a quasi-sage could be trapped. Fortunately, no matter how powerful the Dharma treasure was, as long as it wasn't more powerful than a connate cardinal treasure, Feng Qingshan could accept it. The 5 elements converge, and the spirit pearl supports it. Once it enters the pouch, there is nothing it can't break. With a thought, Feng Qingshan's spiritual power surged, and the law outlined. The second natal magical power was immediately displayed, and the 5 elements spirit pearl flew out to enhance it. Although it wasn't as powerful as Mosquito Dorn's mouth, it was still able to pierce through anything. Furthermore, Feng Qingshan wasn't hoping that the 5-element all would be able to break through the heavenly cycle stellar diagram. All he wanted was for the heavenly cycle stellar diagram to reveal a flaw so that he could summon the eternal heavenly vessel. Go! The 5-element all erupted with multicolored light, millions and millions of symbols swirling about on its surface like crystals and jade. This was especially the case when it pointed at its head. It even more so seemed to have gathered the brilliance of the heavens. It possessed endless sharpness, nothing it couldn't cut through. Buzz! As Fang Qingshan moved, the Zhoutian star map naturally moved as well. The sun, moon, and crescent moon, the 28 mansions, and the 365 main stars all streaked across in a mysterious trajectory, wanting to snipe the five-element all. They advanced wave after wave, ceaselessly. Fortunately, the five-element all did not disappoint Fang Qingshan. It was irresistible. Any attack in front of it was pierced by it. Of course, this was because of the blessing of the five-element spirit pearl, and the current magical power didn't have such power. The Zhoutian star map was not presided over by anyone. Unlike the magic weapons of a mortal world, the magic weapons here have no weapon spirit, only a little spirituality, so it was not too difficult for Fang Qingshan to tear a hole in it. Fall! Then, Fang Qingshan's heart moved, and he linked with the timeless Arkansas. He saw a pair of wings on his back, round on the outside and square on the inside, and a golden copper coin flew out. Treasure Fall Coin. As this treasure was integrated into the timeless ark, with the circulation of the ethereal coin in the ruins, it quickly spread throughout the heavens. The power of the Treasure Fall Coin also skyrocketed. Although he still couldn't get rid of the shackles of the innate supreme treasure, Fang Qingshan thought that this day was not far away. But he saw the Treasure Fall Coin stick to the Zhoutian star map. Snap! The originally ferocious Zhoutian star map suddenly seemed to be drained of its power, and it was powerless to reverse the situation. It was another round of Big Dipper. When he opened his eyes, Fang Qingshan returned to the bottom of the Zhuo Lai Spring. There was a scroll under his feet. If it wasn't the Zhoutian star map, what was it? Fang Qingshan quickly picked it up. This thing was a good treasure, not to mention that its quality had reached the acquired supreme treasure level. Just through it, he could get a glimpse of the mystery of the Zhoutian star formation, which made people salivate. Why was the Zhoutian star formation, the great divine killing formation, and the immortal slaying sword formation called the three great formations of desolation? They were ranked above the 9 Bends Yellow River, the 10,000 Immortals, and the Yin and Yang Dust Formation. There was only one reason, and that was that these three formations could contend against sages. The Zhoutian star formation was something that even sages could covet. As the saying went, everyone below sages were ants. Even the Nether River, which was said to never dry up and the Nether River to never die, did not dare to jump around in front of sages. The so-called three sovereigns of heaven, earth, and human were also locked in the fire cloud cave by sages and could not show themselves at will. However, there were exceptions. That was the formation, stealing the fortune of heaven and earth, invading the mysteries of the sun and moon. When the sorcerer and demon races dominated the world, even sages had to retreat. In order to prevent the two races from falling behind, Zhuani, as a sage, actually schemed against the Golden Crow. In order to prevent Niwa from intervening, Sanqing blocked the door. From this, it could be seen that even sages were very afraid of the sorcerer and demon races. The reason, other than luck, was more important was the guardian formation of the two races, the Zhoutian star formation and the Great Divine Fiend formation. With these two formations, the sorcerer and demon races dared to compete with sages. There were 365 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals who set up the Zhoutian star formation. What if it was a sage to be? What if the real body of Pangu, formed by the Great Divine Fiend formation, held the Panga banner, the Eastern Emperor Bell, and the Taiji diagram, and became the real Pangu heaven-splitting axe? Or what if the Hutu of the Netherworld came out instead of being replaced by Chiyu? Not to mention contending against sages, it was not impossible to suppress or even kill sages. Therefore, sages coveted and were very afraid of these two formations. If they could not get it, they would naturally be destroyed. The Great Divine Fiend formation was fine because it relied entirely on bloodlines. Not to mention that after the Great Divine Fiend War, it was impossible to gather the 12 Zhu Wu. Even if it could be gathered, its power would be greatly reduced compared to the 12 Zhu Wu of the past. This was also the reason why the Wu people created the 13th Zhu Wu, which was Qiyu, to replace the Hutu, but the power of the formation was greatly reduced. Therefore, the sages were not very worried about the great divine fiend formation. Moreover, because it relied on bloodlines, they could not use it even if it was given to them. At most, it could only be used as a reference. Only the Jotian star formation, although it was also very troublesome to set up, was not impossible. Therefore, when Fuxi proved his Tao, the sages schemed and snatched the book of the Luo River diagram from the Kuan Peng. Chapter 759. Kuan Peng was also unlucky, although he was as talented as Di Jun, San Qing, and the others. But his luck was not as good as others. He was born in the northernmost sea, a poor and remote place. He was even cleaner than the two people that Junti had brought in. He had no treasures that he could show. That was not all. Daozu became a saint, and the Purple Cloud Palace began. Relying on his speed, he finally got an opportunity, but he lost it because of that idiot Hongyun. That was an opportunity to become a saint. This was the most unforgivable thing in Kuan Peng's life, the most difficult hurdle to overcome. It was not easy for him to create demon characters, and his reputation spread far and wide. He earned a lot of merit and luck. But before he could be happy, he attracted the attention of Di Jun and Tai. Di Jun and Tai were ambitious. In order to establish the demon race and fight against the Wu people, they either subdued or roped in all the demons in the world. Kuan Peng was no exception. Obviously, Kuan Peng was not willing to be on the same boat. Unfortunately, he was outnumbered. In the end, he was threatened and tempted and reluctantly became a demon master. Finally, the great Magi Demon War gave him an opportunity. When Di Jun and Zhu Wu were both injured, Kuan Peng took the opportunity to get rid of the control of the demon summoning banner, took the star banner and the Luo book and river diagram, and ran back to the northernmost sea like a turtle. He did not expect that disaster would come from the sky while he was sitting at home. The Luo book and river diagram, which had just been in his hands, was taken away by the saint's disciples. Looking at his life, it was miserable. Every time he reached a peak, he would receive a blow to the head. That feeling was simply too painful to not want. Not to mention letting Kuan Peng go. The reason why the saint wanted to take the Luo book and river diagram from Kuan Peng. Firstly, Fuxi really wanted to use it. On the other hand, Kuan Peng already knew a part of the Zhoutian star grade formation. In addition, he also had the star banner. If he had the book of Luo and the river diagram, with his talent, it was not impossible for him to deduce and set up the Zhoutian star grade formation. As for why he was not afraid of Fuxi, it was because Fuxi's path in the Tao of formations was already set. In addition, he did not have the star banner. Besides, Fuxi knew much less about the Zhoutian star formation than Kuan Peng. This was also because Di Jun and Dongwang Tai were afraid of Nuwa, so they deliberately suppressed it. Most importantly, Fuxi, as the celestial emperor of the human race, was locked in the fire cloud cave by the saints. Without the star banner and the Zhoutian star, even if he deduced the Zhoutian star formation, he could not set it up. Green pine, green cypress, green willow, red peach. The chirping of the birds in the mountains was clear and beautiful, and the red-crowned cranes flew together with a profound meaning. The surging green water carried a strong fragrance, and the sky was filled with auspicious clouds. Stupa Mountain, fragrant cypress tree. There was a Zen master on the tree, sitting upright in the bird's nest, meditating. He looked solemn and uneasy. This person was the demon race-crowned prince of the past, West Kunlun Lu's practitioner Luya, the current Buddhist Mavarokana. He was originally waiting here for Tang Sung to subdue Zhu Beiji and was prepared to teach him a heart sutra to form a good karma. However, he did not expect that he would suddenly have a whim today. Whims sounded very simple, and even mortals would sometimes have such a feeling. However, little did they know that the higher one's cultivation level was, the less likely such a situation would occur. Because the higher one's cultivation level was, the less they wanted. There were not many things that could attract their attention, so they would not be shocked if the sky collapsed or the earth cracked. However, once such a situation occurred, it could only mean one thing, and that was that the thing that caused this situation was very important to him. Luya was very surprised. He could not think of anything that could be so important to him. He pinched his fingers and calculated, but he could not calculate anything. This surprised him even more. With his cultivation level, he was not in the great trial, and the matter was closely related to him, but he could not calculate anything at all. How could this not be surprising? Since he could not calculate it, he could only eliminate it one by one. With his status, cultivation level, and realm, there were not many things that could cause him to have a whim. Moreover, he could not deduce anything at all. Could it be him? Luya, who was originally as stable as Mount Tai, stood up from the nest with a look of ecstasy. Why? It turned out that in his deduction, that item was the East Emperor Bell. Ever since the Great Magi Demon War, the treasure had mysteriously disappeared. Even the saints could not deduce its exact whereabouts. Now, it was related to him, but he could not deduce any information. Luya was very sure that the East Emperor Bell was a Khanate cardinal treasure. East Emperor Bell, East Emperor Bell. Luya trembled in excitement as he muttered. It was no wonder that he was so excited. That was a Khanate cardinal treasure. Even saints coveted it. Jie School did not have a Khanate cardinal treasure. Even if they had the immortal vanquishing sword array, it would inevitably collapse. The Buddhist sect did not have a Khanate cardinal treasure. They could not compare to the three sects of the celestial sect. They could only take an unorthodox path. If not for the internal strife of the celestial sect of wonders, they would not know how long it would take for them to develop. Most importantly, the East Emperor Bell had an irreplaceable objection to the demon race. It was more representative and had a higher status than the demon summoning banner. With this item, not only could he rightfully control the demon race, he could also use this treasure to surpass Duo Bao and become the number one person below the saint. Unfortunately, he had to admit that he was thinking too much. The reason why Luya could sense it was because the Nine Yang Spring was connected to his bloodline. Moreover, the Zhodian star map was also a treasure of the demon race. It was even more important than the star banner because it contained the secrets of the Zhodian star array. If he gathered 9 Zhodian star arrays, he could recreate the Zhodian star array. As the only remaining member of the Golden Crow race and the prince of the demon race, how could Luya not be tempted by these two items? As for the fact that he could not deduce anything, it was because of Fong Qingshan. Fong Qingshan had used the timeless arc to seal the aura of the heavenly secrets. In addition, he had the heavenly chessboard and the primordial violet chi, which concealed the heavenly secrets. That was even more powerful. Even a saint could not deduce anything. Putting aside Luya's side, Fong Qingshan had already put away the heavenly cycle star map and entered the mouth of the spring. However, he did not expect there to be another world. After entering the mouth of the spring, what greeted them was a stream of scorching fiery red heaven and earth yuan chi, and it even evolved into fire crows. If it was someone else, perhaps even a perfected golden immortal would fail miserably. After all, the fire essence energy and fire crows were evolved from the true fire of the sun. They were extremely powerful and could burn the world. They could even burn space-time and karma. Fortunately, Fong Qingshan had already wrapped the mystic essence water manipulation flag around his body. However, before Fong Qingshan could recover from the true fire of the sun, another cold current attacked him. It was a world of ice and snow, freezing everything. It was a vast expanse of whiteness and silence. Not long after, the true fire of the sun pounced over, followed by frost, snow, and rain. If Fong Qingshan had not taken out the mystic essence water manipulation flag, he might not have been able to hold on just by relying on his supernatural powers. Chapter 760. It would be fine if it was just the true fire of the sun or the frost snow rain. The key was that when ice and fire alternated, the power that erupted was greater than the power of the two. After adapting to the new environment, Fong Qingshan finally had the mood to take a good look at the specific situation in the spring. What came into view was a sun-moon lake. Why the sun-moon lake? It was because this place really was a deep pool. There really was a great sun, a bright moon. The true fire of the sun was emitted from the sun on the left, where a golden crow was standing, emitting a dazzling brilliance. On the right, there was a fragrant osmanthus, and a jade rabbit was lying on its branch, breathing out endless frost snow rain. The two opposed and interchanged with each other, like yin and yang and the five elements. What a heaven-defying, fatal formation. Emperor June is indeed amazing. Amazing. After careful observation, Fang Qingshan could not help but admire Di Jun from the bottom of his heart. Although he had not become a sage and was already dead, he had to admit that he was an amazing person. Even his opponents and enemies would not deliberately belittle him. If not for his lack of luck, it was not impossible for him to become a sage with his means. In order to resurrect the Golden Crow, Di Jun used the Book of the Luo River diagram to deduce this heaven-defying array. Using the Tao of Yin and Yang to create the law of creation, he used the branch of the moon osmanthus as a guide to guide the land of the earth veins to form the Yin moon. Then, he placed the remnant soul of the Golden Crow on the position of the Yang sun. The transformation of Yin and Yang was natural. Needless to say, the water in the lake was full of starlight water. The Golden Crow could produce sunlight water, and the Jade Rabbit could produce moonlight water. Together with the starlight water, it would become triple light holy water. The power of creation formed by Yin and Yang, coupled with the nourishment of the triple light holy water. As long as there was enough time, the Golden Crow would definitely appear again. With the exception of Goddess Nviwa, who became a sage through the power of creation, other sages, including Fang Qingshan's teacher and father, might not be able to achieve such a feat. Unfortunately, man proposes, God disposes. Di Jun had never expected that the Golden Crow's resurrection plan would be delayed indefinitely because of the cataclysm. Of course, this might be a side effect of karma. On the other hand, if he wanted to gain something, he had to pay a price. The heaven-defying, life-taking array originally had some karma of stealing the sky and changing the sun. If it took an unconventional path, it might not be a good thing for the little Golden Crow. Therefore, although Di Jun used the power of the earth vein to resurrect the little Golden Crow, he didn't just take it. While the earth veins were nourishing the Golden Crow was also nourishing the earth veins. It allowed them to form an organic community that complemented each other. This was also one of the reasons why the Golden Crow's revival was so slow. However, even though the Golden Crow had yet to be resurrected after experiencing 2 great tribulations, it was only a step away from awakening. His body and soul were complete, but he was like a vegetable. As for when he would wake up, that would depend on the will of the heavens. What Fang Qingshan needed to consider now was how to maximize his own benefits. Right now, the simplest solution was to destroy this heaven-defying, life-seizing formation. That way, the Golden Crow's resurrection plan would come to an end. However, he would be able to obtain a Golden Crow's corpse, second-generation laurel tree, and a pool of starlight water. However, it was obvious that he would offend Luya by doing so. Apart from the second-generation laurel tree, Fang Qingshan didn't care about the starlight water and the Golden Crow's corpse at all. However, if he used this as a condition to exchange with others, he would gain a lot more. As the saying went, "Others' arsenic is my honey." In Fang Qingshan's opinion, the starlight water and the Golden Crow's corpse weren't that valuable apart from the laurel tree. However, they were priceless treasures to some people. This person was naturally Luya. Although Luya had grown to the point where he was comparable to Randang and the rest, and was catching up to Duobao and Jin Yuanzi, he still had a few knots in his heart. If he couldn't solve the knots in his heart, he would be like this for the rest of his life. If he couldn't solve the knots in his heart, he would be like this for the rest of his life. As for what exactly the knots in his heart were, it was actually very simple. One of them was the Demon Clan. As the prince of the Demon Clan, Luya had experienced the heyday of the Demon Clan and watched them decline from their peak. This was different from Kong Xian. Although Kong Xian was also the prince of the Phoenix Clan, The Phoenix clan had already become a thing of the past when he was born. Therefore, Luya had always wanted to restore the glory of the demon clan. Unfortunately, it was impossible for even his father's generation, Dijun and Dongwang Tai, to be reborn, not to mention him. That was because even the demon clan's sage, Nuwa, would not agree to it, let alone other sages. The revival of the demon clan was obviously not in the interests of the sages. Therefore, it was impossible to realize this idea. Moreover, although Luya was the prince of the demon clan, he wasn't Dijun or Tai. He didn't have that much prestige. Most importantly, the demon clan's demon heart had already dispersed when they lost the Great Sorcerer Demon War. It would be difficult to lead the team if the people's hearts were scattered. It was too difficult to achieve this. Even if Nuwa were to step in, the effect might not be any better. This was a knot in his heart. The other knot in his heart was the other 9 golden crows. Back then, the 10 golden crows had been bewitched by Zhuanti and tricked out of the Tang Valley. They had caused desolation and committed a monstrous crime. As the youngest golden crow, Luya had successfully waited for Dongwang Tai's rescue under the protection of his 9 brothers. However, this had also become a knot in his heart. Without the protection of the other 9 golden crows, he wouldn't have been able to survive. When the 10 golden crows left the Tang Valley, although it was Zhuanti who had bewitched them, he had also instigated them. Therefore, all these years, Luya had always had this knot in his heart. If it wasn't for him, would the other golden crows still be alive? If Luya knew that the other 9 golden crows could be resurrected, he wouldn't have to pay any price. At the very least, the treasures he could offer in exchange would far exceed what he had gained now. That was because if he could resolve this knot in his heart, Luya's state of mind would be greatly improved. His cultivation would also improve by leaps and bounds. If he could resolve all the knots in his heart and let the demon race regain its former glory, it might even be possible for Luya to use this to prove his Tao. Both sides had their own benefits. Naturally, Fang Qingshan chose to make a deal with Luya. That way, not only could he gain more, he could also gain Luya's friendship. Although the latter was not very useful to Fang Qingshan, it was better to have more friends and more enemies. However, although Fang Qingshan was not interested in the Starlight Divine Water and the Golden Crow, Fang Qingshan would not give up on the Zhoutian star map. That was because the 9 star maps contained the full Zhoutian star formation, and they were acquired treasures. Most importantly, taking away the Zhoutian star map would not affect the resurrection plan of the Golden Crows. This was unlike the Moon Kasha tree. Once it was taken away, not only would the balance of yin and yang be disrupted, but the creation of the triple light divine water would also be destroyed. Chapter 761. The triple light divine water was a creation treasure. Niwa used it to create humans, and Zhen Yuanzi used it to save the ginseng fruit. It had many uses. It could be used to heal injuries, comprehend the power of creation, cultivate, and nurture the spirit root. It was made from the combination of the sun, moon, and starlight. However, not only did a single divine water not have the power of creation, but it also had a powerful attack power. Sunlight divine water erode blood essence, bones, and flesh. Moonlight divine water erode primordial spirit and soul. Starlight divine water erode true spirit and consciousness. Although it was a pity that the laurel tree was gone, Fang Qingshan wouldn't lose the bigger picture. After all, if he didn't touch the laurel tree now, he could ask for another second-generation laurel tree when he traded with immortal Luya. This might be very troublesome or even impossible for other people. But who was immortal Luya? His mother was Shiha, the origin life form of the moon star. It would be a piece of cake for him to take a branch of the laurel tree. If he touched the laurel tree now, it would ruin the Golden Crow's revival plan. Compared to what he could get from the trade, it would be a far cry. What he needed to do now was to find the other 8-9 Yang springs and take out the Zhoutian star map from them. He couldn't touch the laurel tree, but Fang Qingshan couldn't leave the Zhoutian star map to him. With these 9 Zhoutian star maps, Fang Qingshan's eternal divine furnace unit Zhoutian star map would live up to its name. It wouldn't just be a coordinate map now. if he combined them with the original Eternal Unit Jodeon star map. Even if it couldn't become the real Jodeon star map now, it would succeed sooner or later with the advancement of the Timeless Arkansas. If the Jodeon star map could really evolve to that stage, the Timeless Ark wouldn't need the Star Banner or the 365 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals to recreate the Jodeon star array. Moreover, the power of the Timeless Ark would probably be above that of the East Emperor Bell. The power of the array formation might not be able to crush a sage, but it would at least be comparable to one. Of course, that day might be a little far away, so let's not talk about it for now. When Fong Qingshan finished collecting the 9 Jodeon star maps, he could go to Stupa Mountain to trade with Liu Ye. However, Fong Qingshan had once again placed a layer of illusion concealment over the mouth of the spring before leaving. Now is not the time to expose himself. Otherwise, all his plans would be for naught. Of course, the array set up by Fong Qingshan could not be compared to that of Dijun. However, it didn't matter. He didn't want to hide it from everyone, nor did he want to hide it for a long time. As long as he could hide it from a spider spirit for a short period of time, there would be no problem. After all, no one else would come to investigate for no reason. Fong Qingshan came and went in a hurry. However, the spider demon didn't notice it at all. Just as Fong Qingshan was heading to the other 8 Nanyang Springs to retrieve the Jodeon star map, Monkey Sun and his group had already arrived at the boundary of Black Wind Mountain and were staying at the Guanyin Monastery. The original trajectory was that Monkey Sun's flaunting of Tripitaka's embroidered kasaya had caused a disaster. Wealth moved people's hearts. Even though the Guanyin Monastery's old monastery lord was already more than 200 years old, he still hadn't given up on his greed, especially the kasaya that he loved the most. He had collected 700 to 800 precious kasayas throughout his life, but none of them could compare to Tripitaka's kasaya. Thus, he had the intention to kill. Because Monkey Sun wasn't someone to be trifled with, he prepared to set fire to it. How would they know that they had kicked a diamond instead of an iron plate? Monkey Sun wasn't a kind-hearted person. The fall of the leaves signified the arrival of autumn. After learning of the Guanyin Monastery's plan, he didn't tell Tripitaka. To Monkey Sun, if people didn't offend him, he wouldn't offend them. If people offended him, he would kill their entire family. However, Tripitaka was different. His eyes were ordinary, and he was also soft-hearted. If he were to tell him, he would definitely nag him, and he wouldn't kill him. How could Monkey Sun like that? Thus, he simply didn't tell Tripitaka and pretended that he didn't know anything. When everything was settled, even if Tripitaka found out, he could only chant Amitabha. However, before that, he first had to protect Tripitaka well. After all, he didn't have an indestructible body. Thus, he went to the heavens to borrow Verpk's fire-repelling shield. Good fellow, harming others would only harm oneself in the end. The monks of Guanyin Monastery were Buddhists, and their 6 senses were impure. They wanted to scheme for Tripitaka's kasaya, but they didn't expect that they would end up burning their own foundation. They wanted to cry, but had no tears. However, pitiful people must have hateful aspects. Coincidentally, the commotion here had alarmed the black bear monster of Black Wind Mountain. Before the black bear monster became a disciple of Fong Qingshan, it could be considered a friend of the Guanyin Monastery's old abbot. From time to time, they would discuss scriptures and get along well. Elder Jin Shi wasn't a cultivator. The reason why he could still live for a few hundred years was because he would occasionally borrow money from the black bear monster and consume spiritual honey and pills. The black bear monster was a kind-hearted person. Seeing that the Guanyin Monastery was on fire, how could he not save it? Thus, with a black wind, he came to the Guanyin Monastery. Originally, he wanted to put out the fire and save people, but he suddenly discovered Tripitaka's brocade kasaya. This kasaya was also strange. Tripitaka usually kept it without any abnormality, but now it was shining brightly, directly blinding the black bear monster's dog eyes. Wasn't this a blatant temptation? People die for wealth, and birds die for food. If it was in the past, the black bear monster might say that the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. However, he was now a disciple of Fong Qingshan. Regarding this calamity, Fang Qingshan had warned him. Seeing this, how could he not know what was going on? Although he knew what was going on, in order to smoothly carry out the calamity, the black bear monster still took away the Kasaya. Not only that, he also took away Tripitaka. Good heavens! Sun Wukong borrowed the treasure and found that Tripitaka was gone. Instantly, he was infuriated. After a series of questioning, he immediately locked onto the black bear monster. Thus, regardless of the life and death of the people in the Guanyin Monastery, he used the somersault cloud and came to the Black Wind Mountain. The black bear monster had just caught Tripitaka, and in the blink of an eye, Sun Wukong arrived. Before becoming a disciple of Fang Qingshan, the black bear monster could fight evenly with Sun Wukong. Not to mention now, because of the sufficient 100 flowers spiritual honey, the black bear monster's cultivation did not improve, but its magic power was more vigorous and pure. The black spear in his hand had been re-refined by Fang Qingshan and added a lot of precious divine gold. Although it was still not as good as the ocean-pacifying godly needle, the gap was greatly reduced. Thus, even if Sun Wukong did not go easy, he still could not take down the black bear monster. For a moment, Sun Wukong could only retreat and think of another way. Guanyin, who had long planned this, did not sit still this time. Seeing that the Guanyin monastery was burning, Guanyin calculated the time and did not wait for Sun Wukong to invite her. She set off from the South Sea and started the automatic door-to-door service function. Chapter 762. Coincidentally, Fang Qingshan also hurried over to Black Wind Mountain from the Two World Mountains. Of course, he did not know that Guanyin had already set off. But ever since that time at the anxious Eagle Stream, Fang Qingshan had been on guard against Guanyin. As the saying goes, it is better to be safe than sorry. It would be troublesome if Monkey Sun didn't come to invite him. For others, it didn't matter if they lost this portion of merit and luck. But for Fang Qingshan, it was different. No matter how small a mosquito was, it was still meat. Otherwise, he wouldn't have worked so hard to subdue one demon after another. Moreover, the black bear monster was now his disciple, so Fang Qingshan couldn't just ignore it. What if it was taken away by Guanyin, killed by Monkey Sun? This matter was awkward. Therefore, he did not wait for Sun Wukong to invite him. While Guanyin and Fang Qingshan were rushing toward the Black Wind Mountain, Monkey Sun had already come up with another plan. He used the 72 transformations and turned into the old master of the Guanyin Monastery, Elder Jin Shi, and headed to the Black Wind Mountain. However, he did not want to give himself away, and the black bear monster saw through him. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle, but they were still evenly matched. Seeing this, Sun Wukong knew that he couldn't take down the black bear monster with his own strength. Although he was a little discouraged, he had no choice but to call for reinforcements. Just as he was thinking about whether he should go to the South Sea to find Guanyin or continue to the Two World Mountain to trouble Fang Qingshan, suddenly, a Taoist arrived at the Black Wind Mountain. However, this person was like a hawk looking at a wolf. Although he looked like an immortal, he seemed like a monkey wearing a hat. He was holding a glass plate with 2 immortal pills in it. A complacent look appeared on his face. This person and the black bear demon were fair-weather friends. Back when Fang Qingshan subdued the black bear monster, they were still indulging in debauchery. This person's name was Ling Shuzi. He was a wolf that had attained Tao, and he was good at refining pills. Of course, being good at concocting pills was only relatively speaking. After all, the demon race was not very good at alchemy, weapon refining, formation refining, talisman crafting, and other cultivation arts. Ling Shuzi was quite popular because he had a special skill. Today, he had successfully refined another pill and was about to show off. Unexpectedly, he did not check the almanac when he went out and bumped into Monkey Sunday. It was his fate to meet with this calamity. Sun Wukong's eyes lit up when he saw Ling Shuzi and heard him talking to himself. A plan came to his mind. First, he killed Ling Shuzi with a stick. Then, he used the same trick. He plucked out a strand of monkey hair and transformed it into Ling Shuzi's appearance. But his real body turned into an immortal pill and fell into the plate. On the journey to the west, Sun Wukong's most powerful method of winning was not the golden cudgel, not the 72 transformations, not the somersault cloud. It was crawling into others' stomachs. It was the same for Black Wind Mountain, Banana Cave, and Lion Camel Ridge. It was truly a move that could make one eat all over the world. The effect was great. Indeed, the black bear monster wasn't prepared at all. It didn't have the eyes of fire and gold either, so it foolishly fell in a monkey sun's trap. Although the black bear monster was powerful, it was helpless against Sun Wukong, who had infiltrated its body. There was no place for a hero to display his skills. Sun Wukong was even more restless in his stomach. The black bear monster was in so much pain that it hovered between life and death, as if it had walked through the 18 levels of hell. It was even worse than Sun Wukong, who has chanted the band-tightening spell. It was worse than death. After torturing the black bear monster and venting his anger, Sun Wukong was ready to go all out and kill the black bear monster. "Great sage, please show mercy." At this moment, Fang Qingshan rushed over. Sensing that Sun Wukong was going to do something underhanded, he hurried to stop him. "Save me, young master. Save me." Seeing Fang Qingshan, the black bear monster almost cried tears of joy. He was his family, so he hurried to ask for help. Tai Bao, why are you here?" Sun Wukong was also surprised to sense Fang Qingshan's presence. He hadn't invited him yet. Why was he here? The most important thing was that Black Hole seemed to know him. "Great sage, come out first. We're all on the same side. He won't dare to be violent anymore," Fang Qingshan said with a smile. Sun Wukong had a good impression of Fang Qingshan. Therefore, he gave him face and flew out of the black bear monster's nose. "Tai Bao, what's going on?" Sun Wukong looked at Fang Qingshan with sparkling eyes and asked. Looking at Sun Wukong's expression, Fang Qingshan knew that if he didn't make things clear today, they would be strangers in the future. If he wanted to earn merit points so easily, it wouldn't be so easy anymore. Fortunately, the others hid it from Sun Wukong, but Fang Qingshan didn't have to worry about it. "Great sage, don't be anxious. Listen to me slowly." Fang Qingshan smiled and comforted Sun Wukong. Then, he began to tell Sun Wukong everything about the journey to the west. Listening to Fang Qingshan's narration, Sun Wukong's face alternated between green and red. If it was 500 years ago, he would have exploded in anger. Fortunately, 500 years of suppression had its effects. Although it was hard to accept, Sun Wukong could suppress his anger and listen to Fang Qingshan's narration quietly. "Great sage, everyone below the sage is an ant. Now that the sage has not appeared, the only way to control your own destiny is through strength. Only when you are so strong that you don't fear the world as your enemy can you jump out of the chessboard and become a player." Fang Qingshan could feel that Sun Wukong's anger was like a volcano that was about to erupt. Therefore, he couldn't help but persuade him. Phew! Sun Wukong closed his eyes and took a few deep breaths. Then, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. According to his original character, he would definitely pierce the sky. However, after 500 years of suppression, Sun Wukong was no longer the Sun Wukong who was all brawn and no brains. Just like what Fang Qingshan had said, if one was capable, he could do whatever he wanted. If not, he should just tuck his tail between his legs. If he didn't listen obediently, he would suffer. After calming himself down, Sun Wukong thanked Fang Qingshan solemnly. "Thank you, Grand Guardian." He thanked Fang Qingshan for telling him the truth so that he wouldn't be kept in the dark and be a muddle-headed person. "I'm doing this for myself. In the future, please take care of me and show mercy, great sage." Fang Qingshan smiled. "In the future? I'm afraid you don't have a future." At this moment, a cold voice came from outside the Black Wind Cave. A chill that could freeze the world instantly swept over. "Who's that?" The black bear monster, Sun Wukong, and Fang Qingshan were shocked when they heard the voice. A chill ran from their toes to the heavenly gate. Someone was so close to them, but they didn't notice it. If they were ambushed, the three of them shuddered in fear. Turning around, Sun Wukong heaved a sigh of relief when he saw the person who walked into the cave at a moderate speed. It's the Bodhisattva. However, he soon realized that something was amiss. Guanyin ignored him. The expressions of Grand Guardian and Charcoal didn't relax. Instead, they looked even more solemn. An invisible pressure instantly engulfed the area. Chapter 763. Guanyin walked over step by step. With every step she took, her aura became stronger. Although most of the attacks were directed at Fang Qingshan, Sun Wukong, and the black bear monster, who were caught in the crossfire, still felt terrible. After all, Guanyin was a quasi-saint, and they had not even reached the zenith heaven. She was like a mountain, like the sea, like a prison. Fang Qingshan had not felt that way for a long time. The best strategy was to attack the heart. Guanyin wanted to crush Fang Qingshan /S Dao heart first. Once he succumbed to Guanyin /S aura, his cultivation path would probably be over. Fortunately, he was not an ordinary golden immortal. Otherwise, he would probably kneel on the ground in the face of Guanyin /S increasingly powerful aura. Fang Qingshan did not resist it. After all, the difference between him and Guanyin was indeed huge. Therefore, he immediately used the power of the timeless Arkansas. With the power of the eternal heavenly vessel infused into his body, Fang Qingshan was like a rock in the middle of a river, a rock that flowed without turning, a bright moon illuminating the great river. Fang Qingshan is indeed a direct disciple of Ren School. He is indeed impressive. Seeing that, even Guanyin, who was his enemy, could not help but praise him. Unfortunately, ever since Fang Qingshan interfered in the journey to the west, they were destined to fight. Since she could not gain the upper hand with her aura, Guanyin would not do anything useless. She stood in front of Fang Qingshan and retracted her aura. The solidified space instantly relaxed. Sun Wukong and the black bear monster looked at each other and could not help but heave a sigh of relief. However, neither Guanyin nor Fang Qingshan paid attention to them. Fang Daoist, we are considered comrades who fought side by side. Is it appropriate for you to do this? Guanyin asked expressionlessly. Her words did not make sense, but Fang Qingshan understood. Daoist was one of the 12 golden immortals of Chan school back then, but now he has become the Guanyin Bodhisattva of Buddhism. Do you think it is appropriate, Daoist? Fang Qingshan asked instead of answering. As expected, we are all the same. When Guanyin heard this, a smile blossomed on her face. For a moment, the entire world seemed to lose its brilliance. However, this smile carried a deep murderous intent. Unfortunately, although you have such thoughts, you don't have the strength to realize them. Guanyin said coldly, I'll give you a choice now. You can give up on the journey to the West Plan. Otherwise, I'll kill you even if I have to offend the heavenly Lord of Tao and virtue. If you want me to give up on my plan, you don't have to say anything else. There's no turning back now. Whatever means you have, bring it on. I'll take it all on. Fang Qingshan moved his limbs and said indifferently, You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Guanyin sneered. From his point of view, Fang Qingshan was a golden immortal. Although he had some tricks up his sleeves, so what if he had the Taiji diagram, the heaven and earth yellow exquisite pagoda, or the one turn into Sanqing? He was a quasi-sage, and the difference in their strength wasn't something that could be made up for with artifacts. The gap between the two of them was like that of a firefly shining brightly under the moon. Apart from artifacts and divine abilities, Fang Qingshan's greatest reliance was his identity. But breaking someone's opportunity was an irreconcilable enmity. It wasn't like he didn't have a background. It was Fang Qingshan who broke the rules first. Did he really think that he wouldn't dare to kill him? Guanyin's face revealed a hint of killing intent. Guanyin, do you think you've got me? Seeing the undisguised disdain in Guanyin's eyes, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but sneer. Isn't that so? Guanyin said calmly. Apart from your background, you're nothing in my eyes. When I'm no longer afraid of the heavenly Lord of Tao and virtue, you're like a grasshopper after autumn. If I were you, I'd admit defeat. As long as there's life, there's hope. In the end, Guanyin was still afraid of the unfathomable first uncle. Therefore, he really didn't want to kill Fang Qingshan unless it was absolutely necessary. To forge iron, one needs to be strong. Without a diamond, how can one do porcelain work? Fang Qingshan shook his head. And since I dared to provoke you, I naturally have a way to deal with you. Oh, in that case, I'd like to take a good look. Guanyin looked at Fang Qingshan with a faint smile. As you wish. Fang Qingshan said softly. Come out, Ark. As soon as he said that, the void above Fang Qingshan's head, above the black wind mountain, distorted. Rumble. It was earth-shattering, and momentum was vast. It was not inferior to the birth of Sun Wukong. Suddenly, a dazzling, golden, timeless arc, thousands of feet long, suddenly materialized in the void. The entire timeless arc was covered with Tao patterns, one intertwined with the other, and thousands of runes outlined together, turning into chains of laws attached to the timeless Arkansas. Its entire body was filled with an ancient, eternal, vicissitude, mysterious, and vast aura. The timeless arc was divided into 3 parts. The first was the tower ship. There were a total of 9 towers. In the past, except for the bottom 3 floors, the rest were illusory. They were formed by the 3rd grade Golden Lotus. But now, 3 more floors had materialized. This was after Fang Qingshan comprehended the broken corpse of the Chaos Demon God. He took its hardest corner and fused it into the eternal divine furnace, turning it into an eternal unit. Then, he fused the corpse into the hull and the tower. Not only did he strengthen the hull, but he also condensed an additional 3 floors. The second part was the mast and the sails. Chapter 764. The timeless arc, which had been on the verge of metamorphosis for a long time, was catalyzed by this power. In an instant, it began to evolve. Of course, Fang Qingshan was not idle either. He had already prepared all kinds of top-grade treasures of heaven and earth and threw them at the timeless arc as if they were worthless. For a moment, the entire timeless arc was like a huge black hole. Whether it was the energy in the eternal lake, the power of will in the heavenly chessboard, or all kinds of treasures of heaven and earth, it did not reject anything. Wrapped in energy, the entire timeless arc began to grow at a speed visible to the naked eye. Like a bamboo shoot after the rain, it expanded rapidly. Originally, the timeless arc was only tens of thousands of feet in size. Now, it expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye, like a balloon being blown up. In almost a fraction of a second, it had broken through the limit of 10,000 feet. The most important thing was that this strength was internal strength, not pudgy, nor was it a manifestation of the Dharma idol of heaven and earth. It was real size. Moreover, as the timeless arc grew, the runes engraved on it increased. There were as many as the grains of sand in the Ganges River, full of antiquity and Taoist charm. This made the entire timeless arc look even more indestructible. At the beginning, the power of the timeless arc had only pressured Monkey Sun and the Black Bear Monster. If they used all their means, it would not have been a problem for them to escape. But now, as the aura of the timeless arc grew stronger, even Guanyin felt a palpitating power, let alone them. An aura like that of a chaotic beast filled the sky and earth. For a moment, the entire journey to the West World was alarmed. To Shita Palace, 3 Stars Cave, Black Mountain Underworld, 5 Villages Monastery, Blood Sea, Northern Underworld, Heavenly Court, Spirit Mountain. The Timeless Arc. Seeing the Nirvana Arc, Hong Jun Tiandao, the 6 sages, and Hutu in the underworld all showed a trace of surprise and envy. They all knew the timeless arc, so it was not surprising. Desolation did not exist, but it did not mean that other vast thousand worlds did not have it. After reaching the primordial chaos, perfected, golden immortal realm, it would not be so easy to advance further. Hong Jun could quickly surpass the sage, Hong Jun Tiandao, because he had given up his freedom and self and directly transformed into Hong Jun Tiandao. Although Hong Jun Tiandao was Hong Jun was Hong Jun Tiandao. However, In the face of the vast power of the primordial heavenly Tao, the amount of time he could maintain himself was really limited. As for the other sages, they had broken through during the Great Sorcerer and Demon War. However, their strength had not improved much until now. This showed how difficult it was to advance of Origin Realm. At this time, it was no longer possible to work behind closed doors. He had to go out and roam the heavens, try his luck, and learn from the world. The three pure ones that Feng Qingshan had learned in the world of sovereigns were taught to the Celestial Emperor when he was roaming the world. Although sages were not as free as primordial chaos zenith golden immortals, they still had avatars and good corpses. The sages in Desolation basically took the path of killing 3 corpses. Even though Nuwa had become a sage through merit, she had also killed a good corpse, Old Mother of Blackfoal Mountain. However, in Desolation, other than Laozi's good corpse, Old Lord Taishang, who had always presided over the heavenly courts, the other sages' good corpses and evil corpses were rarely seen. So where did they go? The reason was simple. They were naturally traveling the heavens, roaming the mortal world, trying their luck, and learning from the heaven and earth. Therefore, it was not surprising that they had seen the timeless Arkansas. What surprised them was that since when did someone in the Desolation world have a timeless arc? Furthermore, from the looks of it, the timeless arc was not the elementary Ling Yun level timeless Arkansas. Instead, it was the timeless arc that was about to advance to the unparalleled Arkansas. At the Ling Yun level, he could be called a zenith heavenly king. At the unparalleled arc level, he could contend with ordinary quasi-sages. If he attained the supreme, timeless arc, he would probably be invincible among sages below primordial chaos. As for envy, it was even easier to explain. The timeless arc was rarer than connate cardinal treasures and even more precious. It would have been fine if that was all. The key was that the timeless arc was a growth-type Dharma treasure that could constantly improve. As long as there were sufficient resources, it could match or surpass primordial chaos sages. Not to mention anything else. Just this alone was enough to make the sages, who had not made much progress for many years, envious. Another point was that every time the sky boat leveled up, it would receive the blessings of the eternal green lotus. This was equivalent to being imbued with wisdom. This was more important to them than the sky boat leveling up. After all, no matter how good the timeless arc was, it was just a worldly possession. Only the great Tao was fundamental. It would be great if I could get it myself. Not to mention the sages, even the people of Hongjun could not help but have such thoughts at this moment. Thoughts of envy, jealousy, and hatred suddenly surged in their hearts. Unfortunately, the timeless arc was different from other Dharma treasures that could be snatched. Because it was similar to the existence of a natal spiritual treasure, it was bound together for good or bad. If the host, Feng Qingshan, died, the timeless arc would basically be destroyed. Although the remnant body could be obtained, the core of the everlasting lotus would definitely be destroyed. The key to the timeless arc was the eternal lotus seed. Without the eternal lotus seed, the timeless arc was just a powerful Dharma treasure. It did not have the ability to evolve, or even the eternal blessing. It was precisely because of this that Feng Qingshan dared to show the timeless arc openly. Otherwise, an innocent man would get into trouble because of his wealth. Not to mention the other sages, even his teacher, the Lord of Tao and Virtue, and even the people of Hongjun, who had long escaped from the world and integrated into Hongjun Tiandao, would probably not be able to resist snatching it. The sages and Daozu knew that the timeless arc could not be snatched. The others did not know this. Seeing such a powerful Dharma treasure in the hands of a golden immortal like Feng Qingshan, everyone could not help but be tempted. Although Feng Qingshan had a sage standing behind him, humans would die in pursuit of wealth just as birds would die in pursuit of food. There had always been a lot of crazy people. Fortunately, those who had the ability to snatch the timeless arc in Desolation were either disciples of the sages or guests of the Purple Cloud Palace. Before these people could make a move, they were directly warned by the sages and Daozu. Moreover, After knowing that the timeless ark could not be taken away, everyone had no choice but to give up. As for the remaining fish that had escaped the net, being able to cultivate to a level comparable to the Jade Emperor, many treasures, and the others, they were no fools. They understood the principle of shooting the bird that sticks out. Moreover, seeing that the Buddhist sects, Xianmin, Heavenly Court, Underworld, Blood Sea, Northern Underworld, and Pangu Palace did not move at all, how could these people be fools? Therefore, although the timeless ark was tempting, no one came to snatch it. Not good. As an important figure of the Buddhist sects, Guanyin had naturally received a warning from the sages. It was also because of this that she immediately woke up from the shock of the timeless ark and saw, although it cannot be taken away, I can still interrupt him. Guanyin could not help but reveal a cold smile on her face. Guanyin had a vicious plan in her mind, but she did not know that this was simply a path to death. Chapter 765. He couldn't blame Guanyin, because he only just learned the name of the timeless ark from a saint. He only knew that someone dared to break through in front of him. How arrogant was this? This was a blatant provocation. Therefore, he needed to interrupt Fang Qingshan's advancement. Though this was vicious, Guanyin couldn't care less. After all, they were enemies. Not only could he get revenge this way, but he could also turn someone's hope into despair. This would be more painful than killing him. Plus, he didn't actually kill him. This way, the pressure from the saint would be less. How could he know that the timeless ark cannot be disturbed during its advancement? During the timeless ark's advancement, with the protection of the everlasting lotus, almost nobody could disrupt the advancement process or harm the timeless ark and Sa. Not to mention Guanyin, even the saint, or even Hongjun Tiandao would not have this ability, unless one's ability was so strong that, if not surpassing, it would be comparable to the everlasting lotus. But it was obvious that Guanyin did not have this ability. Even if Hongjun Tiandao made a move right now, he might not succeed. Regarding this, the saint didn't know much either. Though they've heard of the timeless ark, they didn't know much about it. After all, there weren't many timeless arks in the universe. As for coincidentally encountering someone's advancement in front of everyone, or someone purposely causing trouble, that was even rarer. They didn't know that the advancement cannot be interrupted or disaster will befall them. Even if they knew, they didn't think there was a need to remind them. After all, a cultivator cannot be disturbed during an enlightenment or breakthrough. Otherwise, it will be a fight to the death. This was because epiphanies and breakthroughs were rare and precious. Once they were interrupted, they would suffer heavy losses and might even be unable to recover. Of course, they didn't know that interrupting another's opportunity would result in irreconcilable hatred. Since Fang Qingshan did this, then Guanyin should not be blamed for retaliating. Therefore, they didn't even remind Guanyin of this. Therefore, due to a combination of factors, Guanyin made a wishful thinking and was almost consigned to eternal damnation. There is only one result for someone who didn't have the ability to challenge the rules set by the strong. He was being suppressed. It was just like Monkey's son, who had shouted that the Jade Emperor would take turns to sit at his house the next day. Guanyin did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. She took out the mutton-fat jade bottle, pulled out the willow branch, and struck the timeless ark heavily. Don't underestimate the willow branch just because it looked like a branch. However, this was the only thing left behind after a top-grade innate spirit root withered. It was where the essence was. After being nourished by the spirit water in the Guanyin Suet jade bottle and the triple light sacred water for many years, it was comparable to a top-grade connate numinous treasure. On top of that, he was a sage to be. If one wasn't prepared for this attack, even a quasi-sage wouldn't be able to withstand it, let alone a golden immortal. Unfortunately, Fang Qingshan was an exception. Even though he was a golden immortal, and even though he was advancing, he was still a golden immortal. However, it had an extremely strong protection. There had never been a time when he felt so safe. As if sensing malice, before the willow branch of Guanyin fell, the blessing of the everlasting lotus just flashed lightly. Crack! The willow branch, which was no less than a top-grade connate numinous treasure, snapped. Oh no! Seeing this, Guanyin didn't even have time to feel sorry for her. She was filled with fear. This was a great threat. She hadn't felt this way back in the Yellow River of Nine Bends formation, or even the immortal slaying sword array. She didn't even feel such danger when facing a sage. Without much time to think, with a thought, an 8th grade Golden Lotus was summoned by Guanyin. This was the seed of the 12th grade Golden Lotus of Merit that Zhuanti had rewarded Guanyin after she joined the Buddhist sect. It was a treasure nurtured by the 8 treasures pond of merit. Although it was only 8th grade, its defense was comparable to a top-grade connate numinous treasure. However, it was useless. In just a short while, the Golden Lotus fell to the ground with a thud. Its surface was covered with cracks that resembled spiderwebs, and it looked like a shattered porcelain vase. Although it wasn't to the extent of being crippled, who knew how much effort and time it would take to repair it? Then, Guanyin let out a scream and flew backward. She was thrown high into the air like a broken sack and fell heavily. Her dermic powers were in chaos, and her laws were broken. Her body had suffered unprecedented damage. She was on the verge of death. Fortunately, she was a quasi-sage and had already killed a corpse. Fortunately, she had the pristine jade bottle, which contained the triple light holy water. Therefore, her good corpse ran out immediately and dripped the triple light holy water on Guanyin's body to stabilize her injuries. Then, she glared at the timeless ark, wanting to eat him alive. Not only did she steal her opportunity, but she also injured herself so badly that she almost died. This vengeance couldn't be washed away even with all the water in the 5 lakes and 3 rivers. Unfortunately, Guanyin didn't dare to act rashly anymore. Actually, Guanyin should be thankful that her cultivation wasn't very high. This was because no matter how strong an attack was, the everlasting lotus would reflect at least 10 times the force. Moreover, the higher one's cultivation, the stronger the rebound force of the everlasting lotus would be. With Guanyin as an example, no one dared to disturb Fang Qingshan's advancement. Everyone waited patiently for the timeless ark's advancement to be accepted. For a moment, the entire world seemed to have quietened down. Fang Qingshan naturally didn't know what was happening in the outside world. At this moment, he was immersed in the ecstasy of the timeless ark's transformation. He had dual cultivated with the timeless ark, so he could empathize with it. Feeling the crazy increase in power brought about by the transformation, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but be immersed in it. The timeless ark's transformation was very fast. Everything seemed to be completed in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the timeless ark grew from thousands of feet to hundreds of thousands of feet. It expanded more than 10 times. This wasn't just a matter of size. It was a transformation of strength. Of course, it wasn't just the appearance. The internal changes were even more shocking. The entire timeless ark's internal space was almost the size of a colossal world. First, it was the tower. Another floor of the tower was solidified. As for the sails, some of the sails were illusory and damaged. Now, they were repaired to the greatest extent. On the deck, the arrow towers, ballistae, magic towers, cannons, soul-shaking clocks, and other offensive weapons were also improved. In the ruined city, all the buildings with rare treasures had also undergone a qualitative change. Of course, other than the hull, the greatest benefit was the eternal divine furnace unit. 9 treasures, Deathly Scythe, 9 Bends Yellow River Diagram, Treasurefall Coin, Otherworld Bridge, Jotion Star Diagram, Passing Water Lamp, Great Void God Armor, Demon God Horn, Eternal Barracks. They had all undergone a qualitative change. Their offensive and defensive capabilities had increased by more than 3 levels. Chapter 766. Don't underestimate these 3 levels, even though they haven't doubled yet. Although it was not doubled, one had to look at the base number. If the base number was small, so what if it was multiplied by 10 times? With a large base number, the difference in levels was like heaven and earth. It should be pointed out that items like the Deathly Scythe and the Great Void Immortal Armor were already supreme-grade connate spiritual treasures. Otherwise, Fang Qingshan would not have integrated them into the sky ship. After all, Every unit of the eternal divine furnace was extremely valuable. If he could not maximize the benefits, he would be punished by the heavens. Although Fang Qingshan had 9 positions, he could not waste them. These treasures were already very strong, and now that there were 3 levels of increase in power, it was not a qualitative breakthrough, but it could completely crush them. Most importantly, these magical treasures were already fixed in shape. If there were no accidents, the power of these magical treasures would not change even during the immeasurable cataclysm. Now that there were improvements, it was all thanks to the integration of the timeless Arkansas. Among them, the weakest was the Zhoutian star map, which could only be used as interstellar coordinates. Because Fang Qingshan had integrated 9 Zhoutian star maps, it had actually surpassed the Death Scythe, Treasure Fall, and other units to become the strongest unit. This was because of the characteristics of the timeless Arkansas. What Di Jun could not accomplish, Fang Qingshan had done. The 9 Zhoutian star maps combined into one. Although it did not become a primordial treasure, it had become a top spiritual treasure. Most importantly, the Zhoutian star array had also been deduced. In the future, the Zhoutian star map would live up to its name. It was not just a navigation tool, but a Zhoutian star array like the 9 Bends Yellow River map. Good. Fang Qingshan was the owner of the timeless Arkansas. Any changes in the timeless arc could not escape Fang Qingshan's senses. As the heavenly vessel transformed, Fang Qingshan only felt an indescribable, yet comfortable enjoyment that he had never felt before. Although it was not his own cultivation base that was improving because they shared honor and disgrace, it was equivalent to his strength transforming. An incomparably wonderful feeling reverberated in his body. The everlasting lotus above. Today, the Permitha has reached the peak of Ling Yun level. Only by transforming and advancing to the unparalleled level will I have the foundation. Today, the Permitha will advance to the unparalleled level and become the unparalleled timeless Arkansas. May the everlasting lotus bless the timeless ark and help it prosper. Although he was enjoying the pleasure of the timeless ark, Fang Qingshan did not forget one thing, and that was praying to the everlasting lotus. This was because if the timeless ark wanted to truly advance, it needed the help of the everlasting lotus. Only then could it break through the shackles. At a certain moment, when Fang Qingshan felt that the timeless ark's transformation had reached a critical point, he immediately looked up into the void and said slowly and sincerely, "All right, host. All right, host. Mother's gift is here." As soon as Fang Qingshan's voice fell, the Thunder Emperor's voice showed excitement for the first time. Whoosh! Suddenly, a vast power poured out from an unknown space. This power penetrated the heavens and the earth, carrying with it an eternal charm. The chaos decayed, but I am immortal. The era perished, but I am immortal. Not to mention the sages, even Hongjun Tiandao seemed so small in the face of this power. At that moment, in Hongjun Tiandao, the sages looked at the divine light that enveloped the timeless Arkansas. However, they could only watch from afar and did not dare to defile it. This was because before the aura of the everlasting lotus, they once again experienced the feeling of being ants. This power seeped out of the void and wrapped the timeless ark in it. Like a placenta, it turned into a cocoon. An incomparably intimate aura quickly spread out. It appeared in Fang Qingshan's mind. It gave off an indescribable feeling. It was as if he had returned to his infancy and suddenly returned to his mother's embrace. The everlasting lotus. At that moment, Fang Qingshan's consciousness seemed to have arrived at a supreme place. This place seemed to be the origin of the great path and the home of the heavens. It came before chaos and primordial creation. A mystical green lotus occupied the center as if it was the center of the entire world. Seeing the green lotus was like seeing the great path. Endless Taoist rhymes rippled and drifted in all directions, naturally emitting an eternal aura. Supreme, the only one in the world. With just a glance, the effect was 10 times or even 100 times better than when Fang Qingshan received the creation empowerment from Hongjun Tiandao or when he sat under the Bodhi tree and drank the enlightenment tea. At that moment, Fang Qingshan did not seem to be swimming in the ocean of the Great Path. Instead, it was the boundless laws and the Great Path that flowed into his mind. He had no choice but to accept it. Moreover, he did not need to use his brain at all. Everything seemed to have been comprehended by him. Eternal blessing. This was a benefit unique to the timeless Arkansas. It would only appear every time the timeless arc leveled up. Each time it appeared, it was extremely precious. Even a master of the timeless arc could not see it too many times. Every time, it was a great opportunity. For the timeless arc to completely complete its evolution, it must obtain the approval and blessing of the everlasting lotus. Only then could it be considered a true transformation. Only then would the benefits be greater. Fang Qingshan had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. Therefore, he sat cross-legged on the deck and deduced his exclusive technique, the all-heavens Tao validation technique. Under this eternal blessing, Fang Qingshan's essence spirit circulated crazily. Countless insights collided and were no longer sparks, but volcanic eruptions. The flaws in the earthly immortal and golden immortal cultivation techniques and mystic skills that he had derived earlier on were all fixed up with ease. After that, he just needed to cultivate again, and he would be able to make up for the hidden dangers. Of course, to Fang Qingshan, the most important thing was to deduce the all-heavens Tao validation techniques to Luo's section. Only by deducing this technique would he be able to break through to Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. Otherwise, even if he had luck, merit, spirit fruits, and spirit pills, Fang Qingshan would not dare to break through directly. As for the Luo section, Fang Qingshan had actually been deducing it for a long time. However, Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals transcended and were eternal in all time and space. In ancient times, Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals did not seem to be ranked at all in the desolation. But Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals could be considered experts in the myriad worlds. Just look at the immortal world. How many eras had passed, but there was not a single Zenith Heaven Golden Immortal. Therefore, even if Fang Qingshan had the Tai Ching immortal art and many other techniques as reference, the Bodhi wood, and the enlightenment tea as support, it was still difficult to deduce. But now, with the blessing of the everlasting lotus, all the problems were no longer problems and were all easily solved. The Luo section was filling up at a speed visible to the naked eye. His entire mind, unknowingly, was immersed in this boundless ocean of Tao. Chapter 767. Under the Eternal Blessing. It wasn't just the various profundities imparted by the everlasting lotus. The various cultivation techniques, sacred arts, and cultivation arts that Fang Qingshan had studied in the Sutra repository were broken, crushed, and absorbed into the Luo chapter. Devour, primal chaos, yin-yang, three powers for symbols, fate, karma, space-time, all sorts of laws were also incorporated into the five-element system. Fang Qingshan's path was the path of all laws becoming one, the path of all Taos becoming one. It was the path of simplifying the complex. With the five elements as the foundation, all rivers run into the sea, and one could comprehend by analogy. Every breath of time was equivalent to the harvest of over 100 years of diligent cultivation. It was as if he had used time acceleration, and the effects were even better. From a moment Fang Qingshan summoned the timeless arc and started advancing, to when the everlasting lotus started blessing, to when Fang Qingshan started comprehending the cultivation technique, it seemed like a long time had passed, but it was actually just a moment. Just as the Luo chapter of the All Heavens Tao verification technique was being perfected at a speed visible to the naked eye, under the infusion of the everlasting lotus's godly power, the timeless arc, which had already reached a bottleneck, broke through its shackles at lightning speed, completely transforming into a peerless battleship. Peerless, unparalleled under the heavens. If the Luo could only be considered as a cornerstone in the domains above the Great Thousand World, then the quasi-sage and peerless could be considered as a true powerhouse. This was because primordial chaos and sages, no matter where they were placed, could be considered as adjudicators and chess players. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't casually make a move. At this point, Fang Qingshan could truly be considered to have the ability to roam the heavens. As long as the sages and primordial chaos didn't make a move, even if they couldn't win, they could rely on the unique characteristics of the timeless arc to escape. Moreover, because the coordinate unit of the eternal divine furnace had been integrated with the 9 maps of the Zhoutian star, it had completely evolved the map of the Zhoutian star formation. Although it had lost the bell of the Eastern Emperor, the Star Banner, the 365 Zenith Heaven Golden Immortals, Tai, Dijun, and other masters, it was still enough to set up the Zhoutian star formation. Even if it could not fight against the Saints now, it should not be a problem to deal with the likes of Treasures of Plenty. As for fighting the sages, the timeless arc would have to break through to the supreme level. If he wanted to suppress the sages, he would have to evolve to the supreme level. However, who knew how long it would take to reach that day? Just the advancement of Ling Yun to Wushuang had already emptied a large portion of Fang Qingshan's foundation. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan soon had another huge harvest. A long time had passed. Perhaps a moment had passed, or perhaps a longer period of time had passed. Fang Qingshan's closed eyes slowly opened. The vast divine light that enveloped the timeless arc also disappeared without a sound. It was hidden in the void and could not be probed. If not for the timeless arc's aura being many times stronger, everything seemed like a mirage. Countless rays of wisdom flickered in his opened eyes. Good. As expected of the blessing of the everlasting lotus. Not only did it allow me to deduce the Zenith Heaven Sutra in one go, but it also paved the way for me to ascend to the Zenith Heaven Sutra. It even made up for the flaws in the Earth Immortal and Golden Immortal Sutras, forging a perfect foundation. Fang Qingshan took a deep breath and could not help but feel a burst of joy in his heart. Of course, Fang Qingshan was not the only one who benefited. As the spirit of the timeless arc, the Thunder Emperor had also benefited greatly. Every metamorphosis of the timeless arc was a growth for him. If the timeless arc could complete the final eternal metamorphosis, it would not be a problem for him to grow into the everlasting lotus. However, countless years had passed. Although there were not many eternal lotus seeds in the timeless arc, there were still quite a few. As for the everlasting lotus, there was still only one. Still, the Thunder Emperor was very satisfied that he could complete one metamorphosis. In the past, he would always put on a stern face, as if someone borrowed money from him and did not return it. Now, he was in high spirits, and there was a faint smile on his lips. So much so that even Fang Qingshan felt a little uncomfortable looking at him. Fang Qingshan opened his eyes and felt the changes in the timeless arc and saw. He could not help but nod in satisfaction. Aside from the increase in strength and combat strength, the Eternal Divine Furnace had 3 more Eternal units. It was not easy to fuse 3 more Eternal units. This was the most obvious manifestation of the foundation of the timeless Arkansas. When he looked up, he could not help but be stunned. That was because the originally arrogant Guanyin was now in a miserable state. The willow branch was broken, and the 8th grade golden lotus root was broken. He had also suffered unprecedented injuries. It was worse than when Yun Xiao used the primordial chaos golden dipper to erase his cultivation. Fortunately, he still had the holy jade bottle. There was also the triple light holy water in the holy jade bottle, which was a healing treasure. As long as there was a breath left, he could come back to life. Otherwise, he was afraid that there would not be anything for Guanyin for a long time, let alone the journey to the west. He could only stay in the South Sea to heal. Although the moment the timeless arc successfully advanced, Guanyin no longer had a chance to perform. Fang Qingshan was only surprised for a moment before he could understand what had happened. Apart from the sages, there were probably only a few people who could injure Guanyin so badly. However, obviously, they would not attack Guanyin for no reason. Moreover, if they attacked, Duobao would not sit back and do nothing. Since Guanyin was not injured by anyone, there was only one explanation. That was to take advantage of the timeless arc when it was advancing to interrupt it. Their intentions were deplorable, and they were courting death. It was already a blessing that he did not die from the backlash of the everlasting lotus. Originally, Fang Qingshan thought that after the timeless arc advanced, he would have an earth-shattering battle with Guanyin. Now, it seemed like there was no need for that. The current timeless arc was not just a matter of 1 or 2 levels stronger than before. The combat strength of the two had undergone an earth-shattering transformation. It was more than 10 times stronger. In the past, he was only the king of the zenith heaven. Now, although he was not invincible among the quasi-sages, he could be considered an expert. Even if Guanyin was not injured, or even changed to the Guanyin after the journey to the west, Fang Qingshan could not say that he could suppress her, but he could still be invincible. After all, once the Zhodian star array appeared, gods and ghosts would not be able to move. Moreover, even if Fang Qingshan wanted to fight, Guanyin did not have the mood to do so at this moment. Bodhisattva, do you still think that my thoughts do not have the strength to match them? Fang Qingshan calmly looked at the battered and exhausted Guanyin and asked lightly. Guanyin, who was already in a bad mood, suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood when she heard Fang Qingshan's words. She was injured on top of her previous injuries. Originally, she had the pearl of wisdom in her hands, and everything was under control. Although she risked defending the sages, she also had the sages behind her, so everything was under control. However, she did not expect that she had misjudged from the beginning. In her eyes, Fang Qingshan was just an ant that could be squashed to death at any time. It was a dragon in deep slumber. Chapter 768. He had been beating the goose all day, only to be pecked in the eye by the goose. Even now, Guanyin did not make a move. She was defenseless and even allowed herself to attack when she had broken through. Not only did she not hurt Guanyin, but she was also hit back by a strange power. That power made Guanyin's heart palpitate. It was as if she had never faced a saint before. Guanyin almost thought that she was dead. If the main body died, even if the 3 corpses did not die, they were basically finished. Winner takes all. This time I lost. Fortunately, Guanyin's heart was strong. Although it was difficult to accept this fact, it was already like this. Even if she did not accept it, there was nothing she could do. Not to mention that her main body was seriously injured and urgently needed to recuperate. Otherwise, if it was left with a Tao injury, it would really be over. Although the merit of the journey to the west was good, there was still a chance in the future. But if her main body was not treated in time and left with a permanent Tao injury, it would really be a loss for a small gain. It should be known that even a saint was not completely confident in treating a Tao injury. And even if she was not injured, looking at the timeless arc above Fang Qingshan's head, there was nothing she could do. She took a deep breath, forcibly suppressing her complicated thoughts and the backlash of her injuries, and said expressionlessly. After saying this, Guanyin turned around and put away the broken willow branch and the broken 8th grade golden lotus. She helped her main body up, moved her feet, and with a flash of golden light, she disappeared. Looking at Guanyin's disappearing figure, Fang Qingshan did not stop her. First, although his main body was seriously injured, he still had the good corpse, so he was not completely defenseless. Second, whether it was the Buddhists or the primeval Lord of Heaven, they would not allow Guanyin to die in his hands. It was easy to understand why the Buddhists wanted to stop him. Guanyin's position in the Buddhists was very special. She was not a Buddha, but she was more important than most Buddhas. As for the primeval Lord of Heaven, he was completely protective. Even if Guanyin had betrayed the Chan school, she was still his disciple. If he wanted to take care of her, he could only do it himself. If outsiders did it, they would be going against him. This was the same as Huang Yaoshi. He could vent his anger on his disciples, break their legs, and drive them out of the school, but that was only limited to himself. If others dared to kill his disciples, they would be courting death. Ignoring Guanyin, Fang Qingshan also put away the timeless arc and saw. Then, the black bear monster returned the robe and Tripitaka to Sun Wukong. Then, he put the black bear monster into the timeless arc and saw. After bidding farewell to Monkey Sun, Fong Qingshan headed straight for Stupa Mountain. There was still a tough battle to fight, although there was no need to fight. Why is he coming towards me? On Stupa Mountain, Luya could not help but frown when he sensed that Fong Qingshan was charging towards him. No one would believe that they were not tempted by Fong Qingshan's timeless Arkansas. However, Fong Qingshan had Laozi, the eldest senior brother of the sage, standing behind him. Before Fong Qingshan broke the rules, no one dared to break the rules to deal with him. Furthermore, he received a voice transmission from Lady Nuwa. Although the timeless arc was good, it could not be snatched. Moreover, although Fong Qingshan could not defeat him, he could not stop him from leaving. Most importantly, even if he could snatch it, it would only be a defective item. Not only would it be completely useless, but it would also offend a sage. The gains did not make up for the losses. Therefore, after knowing this, Luya ignored Fong Qingshan and Guanyin and went straight back. He was not idle now. After all, he still had to calculate the location of the Bell of the East Emperor. That was the top priority. However, he did not expect that he did not look for Fong Qingshan, but Fong Qingshan came to look for him. The deer carried the flowers, and the mountain monkey presented the fruits. The green lawns and colorful phoenixes sang together, and the black cranes and golden chickens gathered. The auspicious clouds gathered into a sea, and the auspicious lights surged into waves. A friend has come from afar, isn't it nice to say? Fong Taoist, we haven't seen each other for many years since the apotheosis of the gods. I didn't expect the Taoist to be even more dashing than before. This monk is ashamed. When Fong Qingshan arrived at Stupa Mountain, Luya jumped down from the cypress tree and stood under the tree to welcome him. Greetings, Zen Master. I came uninvited. Please forgive me for disturbing you. Fong Qingshan bowed and said with a smile, You're too humble, Zen Master. Compared to you, Qingshan is still far behind. Besides, I rely on external objects, not your true abilities. Not at all. It's an honor for Fuda Mountain to have Taoist here. Luya returned the bow with a smile. As for external objects, they're also a form of strength. The two chatted for a while and sat under the cypress tree. Luya could not help but ask curiously, I wonder why Taoist is here? There's an important matter. Fong Qingshan nodded solemnly. Judging from Fong Qingshan's expression, he did not seem to be joking. There was indeed an important matter. Although Luya was still confused, he became solemn as well. Please speak, Taoist. I'm here to make a deal with you, Zen Master. Fong Qingshan said with a smile. A deal? What deal? Luya asked curiously. Fong Qingshan did not answer immediately. Instead, he shook his hand and scattered the 5-element spirit pearl, sealing the surroundings. Luya's eyes flashed when he saw that, but he did not stop him. Zen Master, please take a look. After sealing the heavenly secrets, Fong Qingshan took out a wisp of energy. Where did this come from? Why do you have this? Whoosh! He looked at the golden crow in Fong Qingshan's hand and felt a familiar aura. In particular, the aura was not deathly, but full of vitality. Luya, who was originally calm and motionless, suddenly jumped up and shouted with an excited expression. If he had not seen the scene of Fong Qingshan advancing to the timeless arc not long ago, he would probably capture Fong Qingshan even if he was a disciple of Ren school and interrogate him. He might even search his soul. Don't be fooled by his benevolent look. Immortal Luya was not a kind person. Otherwise, he would not have used the 7 Arrows book to kill Zhao Gongming during the God Conferment battle. Moreover, he did not do it himself. Instead, he used Jiangxia to prevent his luck from being ruined. Looking at Luya, who wanted to move but was forcefully suppressing himself, Fong Qingshan could not help but sigh. Strength was the most reliable. If he did not have the strength, it would be wishful thinking if he wanted to make a deal with Luya. At that time, it would be a different matter if he could keep his life, let alone obtain benefits. Zen Master, don't be anxious. However, Fong Qingshan did not keep him in suspense. Where did this item come from, and how did it end up in my hands? Those are not important. What's important is our next deal. Hearing this, Luya's heart finally calmed down, and he slowly sat down. Deal? What deal? How? Actually, it was no wonder that Luya was so excited. At that moment, he had yet to connect what Fang Qingshan wanted to say with what he had done on a whim. Chapter 769. To Luya, the Eastern Emperor Bell and the Golden Crow were two different things. As mentioned earlier, Immortal Luya would basically be stuck at this level for the rest of his life if he did not encounter any opportunities. It would be difficult for him to have any major breakthroughs. However, if he could let go of the knot in his heart, then the situation would be completely different. The first was the revival of the demon race's golden age, and the second was the death of the 9 golden crows. When Luya was seized by a sudden impulse, he deduced that it was due to the birth of the Eastern Emperor Bell. If he could obtain the Eastern Emperor Bell, it wouldn't be difficult for him to unify the demonic beast race. Although it would be difficult to recreate the demon race's golden age, there was still hope. Now that he saw the aura in Fang Qingshan's hands, Luya felt that there was hope for the 9 golden crow. First was the Eastern Emperor Bell, then the golden crow. Looks like my luck has taken a turn for the better, Luya thought excitedly. If he could resolve this knot in his heart. If that was the case, his cultivation would definitely soar by leaps and bounds. If they could obtain the Eastern Emperor Bell, even if they couldn't return to the peak of the demon race, it wouldn't be a problem for them to unite again. As such, even without the primordial violet chi, one would not be able to become a sage. However, with the help of the Eastern Emperor Bell and the resolution of the knot in his heart, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds, surpassing many treasures and recreating the awe-inspiring might of his uncle, the Eastern Emperor Tai. It was obviously not difficult for him to become the strongest person below the saints. The object of the transaction is the item in my hand. I don't think I need to explain how important this item is to the Zen master. Fang Qingshan smiled calmly. As for how to trade, it depends on what price the Zen master is willing to pay. Trade, the most important thing is equal value. You really know how to plan? Luya had completely calmed down. Just tell me what you want. Good, straightforward enough. Fang Qingshan put his palms together and praised. My requirements are actually not that high. 9 golden crows. I won't say that each golden crow is a top-grade Khanate spirit treasure. Although it's worth that much, you obviously can't afford it. I only want 5 top-grade Khanate spirit treasures. Hearing Fang Qingshan's words, Immortal Luya was so angry that he laughed. My goodness, the Lion Dragon King really opened its mouth wide. 5 top-notch Khanate numinous treasures. How could he say that? Did he think he was Daozu? Even the Khanate cardinal treasures were bestowed upon them. Or the 3 brothers of Laozi. There was a huge pile of top-grade Khanate numinous treasures. Or do you think that top-grade Khanate spiritual treasures are cabbages? 5 items as soon as he opened his mouth. And the reason was hard to refute. Each golden crow was a top-notch Khanate numinous treasure. Since the other party did not ask for 9, it was already a discount. You have to be grateful. Was it not worth it? Wouldn't that be belittling himself? Taoist, let's talk about something practical. 5 top-notch Khanate spiritual treasures. Forget me. I'm afraid even Buddha wouldn't be able to produce them. Luya closed his eyes and suppressed the anger in his heart. If he did not know that he could not take down Fang Qingshan, if he did not know that Fang Qingshan had a backer, if he did not know that he had a favor to ask of Fang Qingshan, Luya would have gone berserk. Zen Master, you are too humble. Fang Qingshan did not agree with Luya's words. Although he had asked for an exorbitant price for the 5 top-notch Khanate numinous treasures, they were not worth much. For others, it was indeed a lot. It was a sky-high price. Luya said that even if Buddha couldn't produce it, he would believe it. However, it was obviously unreasonable to say that Luya really couldn't produce it. Because he was different from others, he was the crown prince of the monster race. And the monster race was even more powerful than the 3 primordial races. If it weren't for Wu people, it would have been easy for them to unify the desolation. Wu Zhangtian, monster Zhangtian. Almost half of the desolation race had been plundered. Such an overlord-level race had a deep foundation, so there was naturally no lack of treasure vaults in the race. One had to know that even the immortal world, the origin dynasty that Fang Qingshan robbed, and the fortune heavenly court all had treasure vaults, and they were divided into ordinary treasure vaults and secret treasure vaults. How could the monster race not have any? They were also divided into ordinary treasure vaults and secret treasure vaults. Not to mention the ordinary treasure vaults, the secret treasure was left by Jun just in case. At that time, the monster race had 1 emperor, 3 emperors, 1 master, and 10 marshals. 1 emperor was naturally Jun. 3 emperors were East Emperor Tai, Emperor Wan Yuhua, Emperor Shi, Fu Shi. 1 master was a monster master Kunpeng, and the 10 marshals were Shang Yang, Gui Che, Bai Zhe, and so on. However, only Jun and Tai knew the specific situation. Kunpeng was extremely poor, so it was obviously impossible for him to get the treasure vault. Jun, Tai, and Yuhua, Fushi was very afraid of them, so he naturally couldn't tell them. As for Bai Zhe and the others, it was even more impossible to know where it was. However, not knowing the specific location didn't mean that they didn't know whether it existed or not. After the Great Magi Demon War, many people, including the saints, had the idea of this secret treasure. However, no one had succeeded in finding it. Others might not know, but as the only successor of Jun, Luya of the Golden Crow race, it was impossible for him not to know. This was because this was the capital that he had specially left for the demon race, for Luya's development. During the Great Shaman Demon War, Dongwang Tai and Emperor Jun already had a bad premonition. This was especially so when the saints appeared. This feeling was even more obvious. Below the saints, everyone was an ant. This saying was not to be trifled with. Due to the great array of the 2 races and the luck, the saints had to retreat. However, in the end, they didn't have the means to fight against the saints. After the great array, if they really wanted to fight, it depended on whether the other party would give them time to set it up. Actually, after the appearance of the saints, under this external pressure, the ambitious people of the sorcerer and demon race originally wanted to give up on the fight. This was because they knew that when the sandpiper and the clam fought, the fishermen would benefit. Unfortunately, the arrow was already on the bow, and it had to be released. The conflict between the sorcerer and demon race wasn't something that they could forcibly stop, even if they were the demon emperors and Zhu Wu. Moreover, even if they could do it, the saints and even Hung Jun Tiandao wouldn't allow this to happen. This was because the human race was the main character of their ideal world. Therefore, before the real battle, the Candle Dragon Jiao, Hutu, Jun, Tai, and the others began to prepare their own escape routes. If they could obtain victory and become the main character of the world, that would be the best thing. If they couldn't, they would prepare for a rainy day. When the time came, they could attack and retreat. It wouldn't be the end of everything if they lost. Therefore, there was Hutu's reincarnation. Although this was her mission, it had to be said that it was to leave a path of retreat for the Wu people. Therefore, Jun and Tai sent Luya to the Wu Palace and asked Nuwa to take care of him, so that he wouldn't be schemed against and the Golden Crow bloodline would go extinct. Before sending Luya away, Jun, Tai, and the others told Luya where the demon race's secret vault was hidden. This was a backup plan prepared for the future rise of the demon race. Although this treasure vault couldn't compare to when the demon race was at its peak, many treasures have been given out during the Great Sorcerer and Demon Race War to maximize their strength. However, this was a secret vault for the revival of the demon race. Naturally, it wouldn't be lacking in treasures. Instead, what was left were the best. Chapter 770. Because the Great War of Sorcery and Demon mainly depended on the 2 races guarding formations, as well as the top combat power of Jun, Jiang, and the others. Naturally, they had no lack of treasures. As for the people below, whether they had a few more or less top-notch Khanate numinous treasures wouldn't change the outcome of the battle. Therefore, although a lot of treasures were distributed, there was still no shortage of treasures in the secret vault. It should not be a problem for him to take out a few top-grade, connate numinous treasures. Even so, Luya would not use those treasures if he could. First of all, he didn't lack any spiritual treasures, so he didn't need to use them. Furthermore, it was Dijun who Tai had prepared for the demon race to rise again in the future. Although the others did not know exactly what was in the treasury or where it was, they were certain that there were many good things in the treasury. In the future, if the demon race could not produce it, it would not only be awkward but also their prestige. Furthermore, even if he could, immortal Luya wouldn't give him as much as Fang Qingshan wanted. Wouldn't that make him a sucker? Taoist, let's talk about something practical. 5 spirit treasures are too many. Don't you see that I only have one immortal slaying flying saber? As the saying goes, ask for a sky-high price and pay on the spot. For the sake of the 9 gold crows and his Tao, Luya had to control his temper and bargain with Fang Qingshan. I don't think so. Fang Qingshan looked at Luya with a faint smile. The Zen master doesn't only have one immortal slaying flying knife in his hand. He only uses one. With the Zen master's cultivation and the immortal slaying flying knife, ordinary people don't need to use another numinous treasure, just like your father and uncle. Dijun and Tai only used the Book of Luo River Diagram and the Bell of the Eastern Emperor. Did that mean they didn't have any treasures? He just didn't need to. Having the Book of Luo River Diagram and the Eastern Emperor Bell was enough. Luya was the same. Moreover, have you forgotten about the Nailhead 7 Arrows book in your possession? Although it isn't a natural spiritual treasure, it's probably not inferior to ordinary natural spiritual treasures. In addition, as far as I know, Zen Master has at least 2 more spiritual treasures. One is the Sun Wheel, and the other is the Sun Wheel. These 2 magic treasures are similar to the Book of the Luo and the River Map in your father's hands. Individually, they are top primordial spiritual treasures. Combined, they're the best of the best. They are comparable to the 10 great primordial spiritual treasures of the Desolation. In that case, the Zen Master alone has 4 numinous treasures, so there's no need to hide them in secret. Initially, Luya did not think much of it. However, when he heard that Fang Qingshan even knew about the Sun and Moon Wheel, his expression changed. He had never used this treasure before. Fellow Taoist, you're truly a meticulous person. You planned everything out. Not at all. I'm also poor. Fang Qingshan shook his head with a bitter smile. With Fang Qingshan's resources, it was more than enough for him to become a demi-saint or even a saint, let alone become a grand Luo. However, with the addition of the eternal heavenly vessel and the mosquito Taoist, he was unable to make ends meet. He had been living a frugal life, spending every penny he had, and had even developed a 1-meter higher sky personality. Naturally, Luya did not know about that. He thought that Fang Qingshan had learned from Zhuani and scoffed. Taoist, you should know that primordial spiritual treasures might not be as rare as primordial cardinal treasures, but many sage-to-be do not even have one. 5 of them is too much. Why don't you exchange them for superior grade primordial spiritual treasures? Luya spoke with emotion and reason. However, Fang Qingshan could not help but roll his eyes when he heard Luya's suggestion. Good heavens, this is too much. 5 primordial spiritual treasures are downgraded to superior grade primordial spiritual treasures instead of giving Luya a discount. For a moment, Fang Qingshan could not help but shake his head like a rattledrum. You're too much, Zen Master. You should know that the 9 golden crows are Zen Master's brothers. Even if they're not as good as Zen Master, are they not worth a few primordial spiritual treasures? Even if it's for the sake of brotherhood, 5 primordial spiritual treasures is not a lot. Moreover, it's not like Zen Master doesn't have any. As the crown prince of a monster race, the successor of Niuhua, and the ancestor of Buddhism, 5 primordial spiritual treasures might seem a lot to others, but to the Taoist, he's willing to take them out. You should know that if the Taoist can revive the 9 golden crows, the providence of the solar star lineage will increase tremendously. Not only will he be able to fulfill his brotherhood, but he'll also be able to repay his debt of gratitude in the past. His cultivation level will also increase tremendously. Everything else is secondary. as long as he can increase his cultivation level. What are 5 primordial spiritual treasures to him? If he can become a sage, he can even discard primordial spiritual treasures. Although he was trying to persuade Luya, it was also Fong Qingshan's true thoughts. After all, if Mosquito Dowrin wanted to become a sage, he would have to devour primordial spiritual treasures. As long as Mosquito Dowrin could make a breakthrough, Fong Qingshan would not be stingy with primordial spiritual treasures. Therefore, he had already planned for the gate of eternal life for him. Moreover, if the gate of eternal life was not enough, Fong Qingshan even planned to use the primordial purple qi in his mind to create another primordial spiritual treasure for him to devour. As for what he would do after he used it, he was not in a hurry. With a mixed yuan clone, would his main body be afraid of not having good cultivation conditions? Moreover, with the help of the timeless arc, the celestial chessboard, and the celestial shuttle, Fong Qingshan believed that there would be more opportunities. However, a bird in the hand was not as good as 1,000 birds in the bush. Only by turning good things into his own cultivation level would he be able to make the best use of them. However, Luya did not know all this. After hearing what Fong Qingshan said, he could not help but roll his eyes. It was easy for Fong Qingshan to talk while standing. He talked and talked. It was a typical case of not feeling heartache for something that didn't belong to him. "Monk, what else do you have to worry about?" Seeing Luya's expression, Fong Qingshan tried to persuade him again. "No matter how good the treasures are, they're just like pearls covered with dust in the treasury. If you can save the 9 golden crows, not only will you be able to resolve the knot in your heart, but your cultivation level will also improve. You will also have 9 helpers, and the luck of the demon race will increase greatly. Moreover, Dharma treasures are more important than quantity. No matter how good the primordial spiritual treasure is, the Taoist has the immortal slaying flying dagger and the sun and moon wheels. He can't use anything else. You're willing to give up, you'll get something in return." After hearing this, Luya thought about the bell of the East Emperor that he had deduced earlier on a whim. He could not help but feel moved. Dharma treasures were more important than quantity. As long as he could get the bell of the East Emperor, it'd be fine even if he had to use a few primordial spiritual treasures. Moreover, he would be saving his brother, the prince of the demon race. He was not using his position for personal gain. Although he was moved, he couldn't just let it go like that. Therefore, the two of them haggled again and finally set the number of primordial spiritual treasures at 3. In addition, they asked for a section of Fusong wood and a section of laurel branch. Chapter 771. Even though he had lost 2 top-tier Khanate numinous treasures, Fong Qingshan was already very satisfied. Furthermore, he had gained the Fusong tree and the Moon Osmanthus tree. They were top-tier Khanate spirit roots that represented yin and yang and were not inferior to the Bodhi tree. In particular, the Fusong tree not only represented a top-tier yang Khanate spirit root, but also a fire Khanate spirit root. In addition to the Bodhi tree, the peach of immortality, and the ginseng fruit tree, Fong Qingshan had already gathered 4 top-tier Khanate spirit roots. All he lacked was the yellow middle plum, which represented the earth element. Immortal Lu Yu was also very satisfied with this outcome. He had gained the most benefits with the least cost. He had revived his brother, resolved the knot in his heart, and increased his cultivation level. He even saw the hope of unifying the monster race and becoming the most powerful person below the sage. He might even be able to complete his father's unfulfilled wish. However, this satisfaction did not last for long. In the blink of an eye, the two of them were heartbroken. Damn it, cunning bastard. After discussing the conditions, the deal between Fong Qingshan and Immortal Luya was completed. Immortal Luya handed the 3 top-tier Khanate numinous treasures to Fong Qingshan. Fong Qingshan told Immortal Luya about the 9 Yang Spring. As such, it should have been a joyous occasion. However, the moment it was completed, the two of them were in a bad mood. They looked at each other and wished they could go back on their word. The reason for this was naturally because both of them were not very satisfied with what they had obtained. Fang Qingshan was dissatisfied because immortal Lu Ye had skimped on the work. The 3 top-tier Khanate numinous treasures did not change in grade. However, even within the same grade, there were good and bad treasures. For example, Fang Qingshan had obtained the Sun Moon Pearl and the stately painting from the goddess of Turtle Spirit, which he had yet to use. There was a qualitative difference between them and the God Slayer. Fang Qingshan had thought that even if immortal Lu Ye did not take out a supreme grade item like the immortal slaying flying saber, it would not be too bad. He had not expected himself to be too naive. The 3 top-tier Khanate numinous treasures that immortal Lu Ye took out were only slightly better than the pilgrimage altar. They were not even comparable to the 33 heavens creation treasures. Such a numinous treasure was not exactly the weakest among Khanate numinous treasures, but it was close to it. If that was the case, then so be it. The problem was that he actually gave him a huge discount on the laurel tree and the fusong tree. It was not comparable to the laurel tree in the 9 yang spring. More importantly, these 2 branches weren't the main branches. They were actually the smaller branches. If he did not have a top-notch creation treasure like the triple light sacred water, he would not be able to survive at all. Actually, Lu Ye did this on purpose, because if he really managed to grow it, it would split the main body's luck. Therefore, for the Queen Mother of the West Saturn Peach Feast, one could eat the peaches, but the pit must be left behind. It was to prevent that. If Monkey Sun hadn't stolen the peach core, Fang Qingshan wouldn't have been able to obtain the peach core of immortality, especially a 9,000-year-old one. The immortality peach forest was given to the Queen Mother by Daozu to protect the heavenly court. What would happen if someone else took it? Even so, from Fang Qingshan's point of view, Lu Ye's actions were ridiculous. If Fang Qingshan was extremely dissatisfied, then Lu Ye was extremely dissatisfied. Although he gave Fang Qingshan a huge discount, he still fulfilled the conditions of the deal. However, the resurrection of the Golden Crow that Fang Qingshan told him was not done by Fang Qingshan. This was not a big deal. After all, Lu Ye did not believe that Fang Qingshan could do it. The key was that this was originally planned by his father, but he did not expect that Fang Qingshan would turn the tables on him. This was like a thief who stole his family's treasure and sold it to him. It was simply insane. Moreover, the Golden Crow had not been successfully resurrected. The 9 yang spring was opened by Fang Qingshan. If he did not seal it, he would not be able to hide it for long. Both of them panted heavily and stared at each other with their bell-sized eyes. After a long while, they finally calmed down. Naturally, Fang Qingshan would not seek trouble for himself. He immediately bade farewell. After all, he still had a lot of things to do. As for Lu Ye, he could not even be bothered to maintain basic etiquette. He waved his hand and left Stupa Mountain after Fang Qingshan. The reason was naturally to go to the 9 yang spring and try to see if he could awaken the Golden Crow. If he could not, he would set up new restrictions. After all, the restrictions that Fang Qingshan had set up would not last long. After leaving Stupa Mountain, Fang Qingshan once again used the doppelganger technique. He asked his clone to head to Gao Village while his main body continued to the next stop. Speaking of Gao Village, Monkey Sun was in big trouble. In the original trajectory, Zhu Beiji's image was greatly damaged because he was born as a pig. He could not help but tarnish the reputation of Ren School. Therefore, he did not mention his sect. Not only did he appear to be lazy, greedy, and lustful, he did not have any initiative at all. Not only did he show that he was lazy, greedy, and lustful, but he also did not have any initiative. He was like a monk striking the bell for a day. Therefore, on the journey to the west, Zhu Beiji was basically slacking. If there was good food, he wouldn't miss it. Let him find a monster and sleep on the way. Even if he fought with demons, he would only use 20% of his strength. As a result, he behaved like Monk Sha. One had to know that Monk Sha was just a curtain roller, while Zhu Beiji was Marshal Tian Peng, which was not a small official position. Especially since Marshal Tian Peng was one of the 4 saints of the North Pole, one of the Big Dipper constellations, a subordinate of the great Emperor Ziwei of the North Pole, and a divine general who ruled over the Big Dipper and Fengdu. Compared to the outstanding 3rd-generation disciple of Chan School, Yang Jian, his official position was not much different. In today's words, Marshal Tian Peng was a commander of the war zone. Yang Jian was a high-ranking official and mayor of the special administrative city, Guangjiankou City. In terms of power, Yang Jian seemed to have more authority. After all, he was in charge of the party and government. However, Marshal Tian Peng was not small either. After all, he was the commander of the field war zone. Yang Jian only had more than 1,000 grass-headed gods, while Marshal Tian Peng had 80,000 elite soldiers. Marshal Tian Peng was the right-hand man of Emperor Ziwei, and Emperor Ziwei was Fang Qingshan's disciple. He could be considered Marshal Tian Peng's senior and junior brother, so he also had a lot of autonomy. Most importantly, Zhu Beiji was the direct disciple of the great Taoist master Xiandu of Ren School. How could his cultivation level be weak? Compared to Yang Jian, who was the direct disciple of Chan School, one could know Zhu Beiji's cultivation level. All in all, Zhu Beiji's cultivation level was definitely not as weak as it seemed in the original trajectory, even if he was reincarnated. However, the training mechanism of Ren School was a little scattered. What should be given to you and what should be supported would be given and supported. As for how it developed in the end, it was up to you. It turned out that in the trajectory, Zhu Beiji gave up on himself because he did not have a senior to guide him. This life was different from the previous one. Chapter 772. In this life, Zhu Beiji was full of confidence because of his uncle master, Fang Qingshan. Moreover, Fang Qingshan had already told him to perform well and make things difficult for Sun Wukong. That way, he would be able to obtain more merit and luck in the future. Therefore, Zhu Beiji gave it his all. Once it got serious, Sun Wukong would have a hard time. Sun Wukong had the Jinggu Bang, a postnatal merit numinous treasure. Zhu Beiji also had the nine-toothed harrow, which was specially made for him by the Grand Supreme Elder. As the Grand Supreme Elder's grand disciple, although this numinous treasure was not a merit numinous treasure, it was not inferior to the Jinggu Bang. Sun Wukong had the 72 earthly fiend transformations, while Zhu Beiji had the 36 heavenly dipper transformations. Sun Wukong had the somersault cloud, while Zhu Beiji had the sword escape technique. Sun Wukong had the indestructible body of Vajra, while Zhu Beiji had the 9 revolutions essence technique. Sun Wukong had fought from the Dragon Palace to the Netherworld, and from the Netherworld to the Heavenly Courts. He was very experienced. As the North Pole Marshal, Zhu Beiji's job was to kill demons and devils. He often went to war and was very famous in the 3 realms. He could make demons flee at the sight of him. He was also an experienced fighter. The only thing that Sun Wukong was better than Zhu Beiji was his background. He was a chaotic force-spirit monkey. As for Zhu Beiji, the disciples of Ren School had always been based on fate and perseverance. They did not have high requirements for talent. This could be seen from the time when great Taoist master Xiandu became his disciple. Xiandu was just an ordinary human. Because of his perseverance, he went to every mountain he saw. He went to hundreds and thousands of mountains and finally met Laozi. Therefore, apart from his background, Sun Wukong basically could not surpass Zhu Beiji. In that case, Zhu Beiji was not as easy to deal with as he used to be. Not to mention taking down Zhu Beiji, it was not easy for Sun Wukong to gain the upper hand. He even suffered a few losses. I told you that you can't. You only know how to play tricks. I told you to go to a faraway place and invite an expert. Are you going to anger me to death? Seeing that Monkey Sun was indeed a braggart who didn't kill Zhu Beiji, Gao Taigong scolded Gao Kai. However, why did his words sound like he was scolding the locust instead of the mulberry tree? When Monkey Sun heard this, his temper flared up. Fortunately, Tripitaka was here. Although he also felt embarrassed since he did not complete the mission, he could still accept being criticized. Seeing that the Monkey King still dared to act violently, he was instantly enraged. Although he didn't chant the band-tightening incantation, he activated his vicious tongue mode. Aren't you the great sage, heaven's equal? Why can't you even deal with a demon? Didn't you boast that it would be a piece of cake? Why did you fail? First it was the anxious eagle stream, then the Black Wind Mountain, and now the old Gao village is no good either. Tell me, what use do you have? Monk Tripitaka rattled on, causing Monkey Sun to almost go berserk. He was also afraid of the band-tightening curse. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore and disappeared with a somersault cloud. Huh, why does the great sage look so angry? Where are we going? Monkey Sun couldn't stand Gao Taigong's taunts and Tripitaka's vicious tongue, but he couldn't take down Zhu Beiji, so he was depressed. He directly left Old Gao village with a somersault cloud, looking for a place to vent his anger. Then he ran into Fong Qingshan, who had just come down from Stupa Mountain. Seeing Sun Wukong's reaction, Fong Qingshan smiled wickedly. He knew that Monkey Sun must have been defeated by Zhu Beiji. However, Monkey Sun's eyes lit up when he saw Fong Qingshan. Monkey Sun used to think that Fong Qingshan, the temporary Grand Guardian, was a little mysterious in Monkey Sun's eyes. But after the Black Wind Mountain incident, Monkey Sun directly raised it to the level of Guanyin. It was even higher than Guanyin. After all, Guanyin was defeated by Fong Qingshan. Moreover, Fong Qingshan had told him about the journey to the west. Now that he was in trouble, couldn't he ask him to solve it? Grand Guardian, please help me. Monkey Sun hurriedly said to Fong Qingshan. Oh, don't worry. Tell me what happened. Although Fong Qingshan knew what was going on, he had to pretend that he didn't know at this time. Sun Wukong was also a good actor. He hurriedly recounted everything that had happened in Gaolao village. I see. Fong Qingshan pretended to be suddenly enlightened. Don't panic, great sage. I'll go with you. You don't know, but this demon and I have a deep relationship. On the way back to Old Gao village with Monkey Sun, Fong Qingshan told Monkey Sun about his relationship with Zhu Beiji. So he's from the Grand Guardian sect. No wonder he's so powerful that even I can't do anything to him. Monkey Sun felt much better when he heard that Zhu Beiji was Fong Qingshan's martial nephew. He knew it. How could there be so many experts in the world? First, it was the black bear monster. Now it was the pig demon. Monkey Sun almost doubted his life. It turned out that they were all people with powerful backgrounds. When they arrived at Fulling Mountain, Fong Qingshan told Monkey Sun to knock on the door. Canopy, come out. Your grandpa's son is here again. Damn horse protector, how dare you come again? If I don't teach you a lesson this time, you won't know how many eyes the horse lord has. When Zhu Beiji heard Monkey Sun's clamor, he immediately took his rake and left the cave, ready to teach Monkey Sun a lesson. However, as soon as he walked out of the cave, he saw Fong Qingshan standing at the door, looking at him with a faint smile. Immediately, Zhu Beiji could not help but swallow the words he wanted to say and retracted the rake he was about to strike. Zhu Ganglai greets Uncle Master. I didn't know you were coming, so I didn't go out to greet you. Please forgive me. Zhu Beiji bowed respectfully to Fong Qingshan. Didn't I tell you to wait here for the person who came to take the Buddhist scriptures to atone for your crimes? Why did you fight with the great sage? According to the development of the plot, Fong Qingshan still asked. Yes, I've been waiting. As for why I fought with Horse Protector, he came looking for me. Zhu Beiji was also a best actor, so he was confused and angry. If you didn't steal Gao Village's daughter, would I come looking for you? I'm a son-in-law of Gao Village, and Tsuelan is my wife. Did I come to steal her? We have the 3 books and 6 betrothal gifts. You're a monster, and humans and demons walk different paths. Love doesn't discriminate between genders or races. Then why don't you go find a male monkey? Fong Qingshan's words made Zhu Beiji and Monkey Sun come to an abrupt stop. They looked at each other. If Zhu Beiji and Gao Tsuelan were replaced by Zhu Beiji and Monkey Sun, the scene would be too beautiful. The two of them trembled, as if they were electrocuted, and each took a step back. All right, stop joking. Fong Qingshan couldn't help but shake his head. The great sage is now following the person who came to take the Buddhist scriptures. You should go with him. As for Tsuelan, let her stay in Gao Village. Come pick her up when you come back. Chapter 773. Fong Qingshan's doppelganger helps Sun Wukong subdue Zhu Beiji. After he left Stupa Mountain, He went straight to the back of the cave of Silken Web. After passing the cave of Silken Web, he arrived at the Lion-Camel Ridge. There were 3 demon kings in the Lion-Camel Ridge: the Indigo Lion, the White Elephant, and the Rock, as well as 47,000 to 8,000 small demons. It was one of the top demon forces in the Zahiniu state, and was almost on par with the Mountain Bull Demon King. The 3 demons here were not to be underestimated. The Indigo Lion had appeared in the Wuji Kingdom, but at that time he only rode and did not put in much effort. As the mount of the Manjushri Bodhisattva, he was like Sun Wukong, lawless, and broke through the southern heavenly gate. He opened his mouth like a city gate and swallowed 100,000 heavenly soldiers. The heavenly soldiers did not dare to fight and closed the southern heavenly gate. The white tusk spirit elephant was not weaker than the Indigo Lion. It was the mount of the Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. The third rock was even more impressive. He was the uncle of the Buddha and the younger brother of Mahamayuri, the crown prince of the ancient Phoenix clan. He was born from the yin and yang of the world. Unfortunately, he was far inferior to his brother. Kong Xian's reputation had already spread far and wide during the Battle of the Gods' Investiture. In front of the Golden Chicken Ridge, he alone held the fort against 10,000 people. He beat up the 12 golden immortals of the Chan school, Dipankara, Luya, and the others until they were speechless. Zhuanti even took action personally, but he underestimated Kong Xian and suffered a loss. As for the rock, it was a waste of its talent. It refined the yin and yang into a nondescript yin and yang bottle, and Sun Wukong drilled a hole in it. Sun Wukong would not be able to deal with any one of them. Although Fang Qingshan could not subdue them, he could suppress them in the end. Now, that Guanyin was not around and he had shown his strength. He should be able to earn more merit. After passing the Lion-Camel Ridge, they arrived at the Bichio state. From the name, it was a Buddhist country. The monsters here were not wild either. It was the mount of the South Pole immortal of Chan school. It stole the coiling dragon cane of longevity and descended to the mortal world. It took the white-faced fox as its daughter and offered her to the king of Bichio state. In order to cultivate, it actually used the hearts and livers of thousands of children as medicine. That was insane. After passing the Bikku kingdom, he arrived at the bottomless pit. This was another monster with a powerful background. Just like the scorpion spirit and the yellow wind spirit, she was also a demon of Spirited Mountain. She was originally a golden-nosed, white-furred mouse spirit. 300 years ago, because she stole the fragrant flowers and treasured candles on Spirited Mountain, the Buddha sent the pagoda-bearing heavenly king, brought the heavenly army, and captured her. After capturing it, the Buddha, fortunately, Tathagata had instructed, the heavens have the virtue of cherishing all living things. The sea of bitterness has no bounds. Thus, he spared her life. He didn't know if the demon was grateful or if it had other thoughts. He climbed up the pole and directly worshipped Li Jing as his father and Neza as his brother. He set up a memorial tablet below and served incense offerings. Therefore, Fang Qingshan could not touch this demon. After passing the bottomless pit, the journey to the west was almost over. After that, it was the destruction of France, Misty Mountain, Fengxian County, Leopard Head Mountain, Bamboo Mountain, and the Nine Winding Cave. Green Dragon Mountain, Shinying Cave, India, Copper Platform Mansion, Ling Yin Crossing, and finally returning to the Tontian River. Except for the 3 rhinoceros demons in Misty Mountain and Green Dragon Mountain, Fang Qingshan had no room to develop in other places. First, it was the destruction of France. Just like the Chechi State and the Jade Pool, the monks were all killed. Dharma, 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 Dharma. Although the king here was the true dragon son of heaven, there was auspicious light on the city wall. He did not know when, or if it was in his previous life, he became enemies with the Buddhist sect. Therefore, in order to take revenge on Buddhism, he made a great wish to kill 10,000 monks. One after another, he killed 9,996 nameless monks. All he had to do was wait for 4 famous monks to add up to 10,000 to complete the mission. He was just waiting for Tripitaka and his 3 disciples. Because they were mortals, Fong Qingshan couldn't do it. Besides, he was from Xianmen. It would be good if he didn't help the destruction of France. As for Fengxian County, they prayed for rain. Fengxian County was similar to Wuji Kingdom. They both suffered because they offended immortals and Buddhas. One year, the Jade Emperor was bored and wanted to go out for an inspection. He happened to see the Marquis of Fengxian County and his wife quarreling. Logically speaking, this was a small family matter and had nothing to do with the Jade Emperor. However, a quarrel was a quarrel, but because the Jade Emperor's offering table was flipped over and the dog ate the offering on the ground, the Jade Emperor happened to see it. Wasn't it a coincidence? Therefore, the Jade Emperor punished Fengxian County for not raining for 3 years. However, there was atonement and commutation in the human world. The Jade Emperor could do it too, but it wasn't easy. 3 things had to be done to reduce the sentence. First, the fist-sized chicken in the heavenly court pecked the rice mountain. Second, the dog licked the face mountain. Third, the flame of the lamp broke the foot-long golden lock. It wasn't easy to think about it. These immortals and Buddhas were petty. They just flipped over the offering table and let the dog eat the offering. It wasn't like they were calling him a dog. Was there a need to punish him so heavily? Besides, it was fine to punish the Marquis of Fengxian County, but they even punished him, causing the people of Fengxian County to suffer. The world was indeed heartless and treated all living things like dogs. However, this matter had nothing to do with Fong Qingshan. He could only wait for the monkey to argue with the Jade Emperor. As for Leopard Head Mountain and Bamboo Mountain's 9 winding cave, they were a family. There were 7 lions on the Bamboo Mountain, namely the Yellow Lion, the Black Lion, the Snow Lion, the Swan and Eye, the White Marsh, the Hidden Fox, and the Tuanxiang. The 7 lions worshipped the Grand Saint of 9 spirits as their ancestors. Among them, the Yellow Lion spirit lived alone on the Leopard's Head Mountain, while the other 6 lions lived together with the Grand Saint of 9 spirits in the 9 winding caves of the Bamboo Mountain, greedy at the sight of wealth. The Yellow Lion spirit was possessed and actually stole the weapons of Sun Wukong and his brothers. However, he wasn't Sun Wukong's match, so he couldn't ask the 7 brothers to gang up on him. Fortunately, beating up the younger one attracted the older one. In the end, Grand Saint of 9 spirits took action. Not only did he start a feud, but he also kidnapped Tripitaka. Sun Wukong was no match for Grand Saint of 9 spirits. Fortunately, Lord Tai took action. Otherwise, he would have suffered a lot. As for Tin Tu, it was the Jade Rabbit spirit. Their combat power was trash. There was nothing much to say. Copper Platform Manor and Annihilation of France were similar, but they were completely different. Annihilation of France was to kill 9,996 nameless monks. You just needed to wait for 4 famous monks to make up 10,000 and complete the mission. In Copper Platform Manor's Ko Yuan Wai often gave vegetarian meals to the monks. He also needed 4 people to complete the mission. Unfortunately, the day he completed the mission would be the day he ascended to heaven. As for Ling Yindu, he had already reached the foot of Spirited Mountain. There was nothing for Fong Qingshan to do. Therefore, what Fong Qingshan needed to do now was to go to Misty Mountain first, and then Green Dragon Mountain. Chapter 774. As long as the demons of Misty Mountain and Green Dragon Mountain were subdued, Fong Qingshan's main body would be free. Next, he could be like Guanyin in the original trajectory, sitting on the fishing platform, waiting for Monkey Sun to come to the west and ask him for help when he encountered difficulties that could not be solved. Finally, all 9 would return to 1. The merit would be complete, the luck and merit would be added to his body, and he would break through. Then, he would return to a mortal world, seize the gate of eternal life, and use resources to make Mosquito Dowrin a mixed origin saint. Although Mosquito Dowrin was only a Tai now, as long as Fong Qingshan was willing, he could push him to the peak of quasi-saint at any time. Not to mention, before coming to the journey to the west, Fong Qingshan robbed the Fortune Heavenly Court, the Origin Dynasty, and the Ancient Pill Realm's treasury. After digesting these, it would be too easy for Mosquito Dowrin to break through to the Zenith Heaven. and it would definitely not be as simple as the early stage. In addition, he had just obtained 3 top-grade innate spiritual treasures. There was even the Sun and Moon Pearl and the Xianyuan water control flag. As long as he devoured them, breaking through to the peak of Quasi-Saint would be a sure thing. At that time, together with the unparalleled level timeless arc, there would basically be no problem in snatching the gate of eternal life. Even if Hongjun Tiandao of Immortal World took action, it would not help. It was just that he had just obtained 3 top-grade innate spiritual treasures from Luya and the Sun and Moon Pearl of the goddess of Turtle Spirit. Fang Qingshan was still a little reluctant to give up the Xianyuan water control flag. The innate 5-direction flag was ranked among the top 10 innate spiritual treasures of desolation. It was not 5 in one, but each side. If the 5 flags were combined, if there was a little more opportunity, it would not be a problem to break through to the primordial treasure. This was somewhat similar to the 4 immortal slaying swords. Each of the 4 immortal slaying swords could be regarded as a top killing treasure. It was not as good as the God Slayer, but it would not be worse than the Death Scythe in the hands of Yuantu Avicii or Fang Qingshan. If the 4 swords were combined into one, it would surpass the God Slayer and catch up to the Pangu flag. Unfortunately, it would not last. This was the lack of opportunity. Otherwise, if the immortal exterminating 4 swords could fuse into a connate cardinal treasure, although it could not be compared to the fairy slaying sword formation, it could not be broken by anyone below the 4 sages. Sect leader Tong Tian would probably be very willing. If he had a connate cardinal treasure, even if it could not compare to the Taiji painting and Pangu's banner, even if Jie School was going to lose, it would not be as tragic as the original trajectory. Putting these aside for now, the reason why Fang Qingshan wanted to keep the Mystic Essence water manipulation flag, it was the same reason why he kept the 12 sea calming divine pearls. Because he could still go to the desolation world. If he had enough opportunities and a good plan, Fang Qingshan might have a chance to gather the connate 5-direction flags and the 36 sea calming divine pearls. Fang Qingshan had already opened the Great Desolation world a long time ago. However, due to the difficulty factor being too high, it had never been completed. It was not that he was of a higher level than the Martial Tomb Great World, but the difference between the ancient Desolation world and other worlds was that it was too dangerous. Golden Immortals were everywhere, while Heaven Immortals were like dogs, especially in the Primordial Era. The 2 great calamities of the ancient era swept through the entire world. Even a great world like the Desolation world was destroyed. The number of peak quasi-sages who died could not even be counted with 2 hands. Under such circumstances, how would Fang Qingshan dare to go there casually? However, there was no need to worry now. As long as Fang Qingshan completed the journey to the west, everything would fall into place. Regardless of how Fang Qingshan subdued the leopard spirit and the rhinoceros monster, after Xuanzang's group accepted Zhu Beiji at Gaolao village, they continued west. They should have received a Heart Sutra from Immortal Lu at Stupa Mountain and sowed good karma. However, Immortal Lu and Fang Qingshan had already left Stupa Mountain and headed for the 9 Sun Spring. Naturally, there was no such thing. 3 people and 1 horse quickly arrived at the Yellow Wind Ridge. The Yellow Wind Great Sage in the Yellow Wind Cave was a yellow-haired marten that had attained Tao at the foot of Mount Numinous. Because he had secretly eaten the clear oil in the glazed cup, he was afraid of being caught, so he ran to the Yellow Wind Ridge to become the king. Even though he had some abilities, he could only last 30 rounds with Sun Wukong going easy on him. However, his true combat power was still in his innate divine art, Samadhi Divine Wind. This wind was no weaker than the Samadhi True Fire. With one blow, heaven and earth changed color. The blue sky shook Bullfighting Palace and almost blew down Sanluo Hall. Heaven and earth almost collapsed, and the mountains and rivers within 10,000 miles trembled. Even though it was a little exaggerated, its power was real. It could blow the heaven and earth into a state of darkness. It could blow bones and flesh apart, and it could blow one's body into pieces. It could blow them into pieces. turning them into nothingness. There was no way to counter this kind of divine art. Either you didn't give him a chance to execute it and kill him in the bud, or you used force to suppress him and used force to defeat everything. Sun Wukong and the rest didn't know about the demons at all. Even though their combat power was strong, they couldn't destroy everything. Therefore, they suffered greatly under the Samadhi divine wind, especially Sun Wukong. His fiery eyes were most afraid of smoke and sand getting in his eyes. When he was blown by this wind, the situation in Lao Juan's 8 trigrams furnace instantly surged into his mind. It was incomparably painful, and his eyes were sore. Tears flowed down endlessly as though he was going blind. According to the original trajectory, Sun Wukong had trouble defeating the yellow wind monster many times. Later on, he turned into a mosquito and flew into the cave. He learned that Bodhisattva Ling Ji could neutralize the Samadhi divine wind. So Sun Wukong rode his somersault cloud to invite Bodhisattva Ling Ji. Ling Ji tossed the flying dragon scepter up, and it turned into an 8-clawed golden dragon. It opened its claws and caught the demon, causing the demon to reveal its original form of a yellow marten. But now, because Fang Qingshan had become a timely reign, Sun Wukong thought of him first. Zhu Beiji was Fang Qingshan's martial nephew, so when there were difficulties and benefits, he would naturally think of his martial uncle. Therefore, Fang Qingshan came to Borderline Mountain with a somersault cloud and asked Fang Qingshan if there was a solution. In this regard, Fang Qingshan naturally couldn't say that he couldn't. First, he told him about the origin of the yellow wind demon, then took out a bag and handed it to him. This item was called the Gentle Wind Bag. It was a treasure that Fang Qingshan obtained from trading the sea-calming divine pearl with Dipankara when he was apatheicized. It was an inferior grade primordial spiritual treasure, similar to the air-frozen bead. Although it wasn't as good as the air-frozen bead, which specialized in restraining all winds in the world, but it was enough to deal with the Samadhi divine wind. The yellow wind demon could blow the Samadhi divine wind, and the gentle wind bag could also release the innate divine wind. When the two offset each other, it was reasonable for the yellow wind demon to be defeated. This was because Fang Qingshan had mentioned that this monster had a history. Therefore, after capturing the yellow wind demon, Sun Wukong didn't kill it. Instead, he sent it back to Bodhisattva Lingji and asked for an extra air-frozen pill as compensation. After passing the yellow wind ridge, they arrived at the quicksand river. In the original trajectory, Zhu Beiji didn't put in any effort, and Sun Wukong couldn't enter the water due to his swimming ability. The little white dragon's dragon pearl was taken away, so it was blocked in front of the quicksand river. In the end, when Guanyin sent traveling monk Hui in to explain the past, they successfully passed. Chapter 775. Because of the Black Wind Mountain incident, Guanyin was defeated. Naturally, traveling monk Hui had nothing to do with it. But this didn't affect the matter at all. As it turned out, the reason why the orbit wanted traveling monk Hui to make the trip was firstly because Guanyin was plotting merit for his disciple. Secondly, Zhu Beiji was slacking off and muddling along without putting in any effort. But it was different now. Whether it was for himself or for his martial uncle, Zhu Beiji couldn't be a monk ringing the bell all day long. With his cultivation and methods, if he were to go all out, even if Monk Sha had the geographical advantage of Quicksand River, he would still be in danger. Coupled with the assistance of Little White Dragon, it did not take much effort for them to capture Monk Sha. Monk Sha was savage. Not only did he kill people, he even chopped off their heads and hung them around his neck like a necklace. Sun Wukong was going to kill him. Fortunately, Fang Qingshan appeared and resolved the conflict. Thus, the journey to the West team was completely formed. With Monk Sha's head prayer beads in the boat, Sanzeng and the rest easily crossed the Quicksand River. After sending off Xuanzang and the others, Fang Qingshan did not return to the Two World Mountains as usual. Instead, he remained in Quicksand River, the eternal sands of time and space. Fong Qingshan had coveted this supreme treasure of the primordial sand tribe, the hourglass of time and space, and he had mixed it with the living soil of the nine heavens. Now that Monk Sha had finally left, it was only natural for him to be eager to collect it. However, when Fong Qingshan wanted to collect it, he realized that things weren't as simple as he thought. Back then, he had only taken a look from afar. Although he had discovered the eternal sand of time and space because of treasures like the passing water lamp, he hadn't been able to observe it in detail because Monk Sha was still inside. At this moment, he realized that it was no wonder why Monk Sha, as the owner of the Quicksand River, was unable to find this treasure even after hundreds of years. Apart from the fact that the divine item was concealing itself, it was also because if this item was not able to evolve successfully, it would not be able to display its miraculousness. If he wanted the evolution to succeed, the environment around him could not be changed. Just like geomancy and formations, the slightest mistake could lead to a huge error. If he only took away the eternal sand of time and space, without the environment of the Quicksand River, it would be a problem for the treasure to take shape. However, if he allowed it to evolve on its own, who knew how long it would take for it to evolve on its own? It was likely that even after he left the journey to the west, he would not be able to evolve successfully. Furthermore, if he couldn't collect it and left it alone, what if this place was occupied and the secret was discovered? That would be troublesome. As for saying that he had moved here and built a hut, it would be a blatant lie. Forget it. Since that's the case, I might as well take the entire Quicksand River. After thinking about it, Fong Qingshan could not think of a way to satisfy both sides. In the end, he could only settle for the next best thing and simply take the entire Quicksand River. Although the commotion was a little big, it could not be helped. Moreover, the most important thing was that if it was just collecting the eternal sand of time and space, the treasure would not have been able to transform completely. According to Fong Qingshan's observations, there was a high chance that the eternal sand of time and space would continue to fuse with the 3,000 weak water after a transformation. In this way, the quality could be improved by another level. This was also a very important reason why Fong Qingshan decided to take away the entire Quicksand River. Of course, the reason why he dared to take away the entire Quicksand River and was not worried about the Western Ancestral Vein was because the Quicksand River's calamity had already been completed. The Ancestral Veins node had already been repaired. If he moved it again, the impact would not be that great. It was within an acceptable range. This was very important. Otherwise, if the Ancestral Vein was shaken, the Western people would not let him off even if the heavenly punishment did not come, let alone the merit of the journey to the West. After all, he had already taken away Guanin's opportunity and humiliated the Buddhist sect. Collect. Indecisiveness would only lead to trouble. Since he had already made up his mind, Fong Qingshan did not hesitate anymore. He immediately summoned the timeless Arkansas rumble. As soon as Fong Qingshan's voice fell, he immediately saw, from within the heavenly ship, a beam of divine light that reached the heavens and the earth flashed, enveloping the entire Quicksand River for 800 miles. In the divine light, the Quicksand River burst out with a strong spiritual nature and rose from the ground. In the divine light, it shrank like a magical weapon. In the blink of an eye, it shrank into the shape of a ribbon and appeared on the timeless Arkansas. Is that Fong Qingshan? It's the timeless arc that is almost comparable to a Khanate treasure. What is he doing? This seems to be the Quicksand River. Why is he collecting the Quicksand River? Could it be for the 3,000 weak water? Yeah. Could there be other treasures in the Quicksand River? Collecting the 800 miles of Quicksand River, the timeless arc, and Fong Qingshan had caused too much of stir. Fong Qingshan had no intention of hiding it from others, so he acted on his own. Many people were puzzled by Fong Qingshan's actions. However, more people thought that Fong Qingshan would not do something without a goal. There must be treasures in the Quicksand River that they did not know about. Otherwise, if it was for the 3,000 weak water, he could have used a spatial magical treasure to obtain some. There was no need for him to collect the entire river at all. There was no need for Fang Qingshan to make such a big fuss. He was not doing it for nothing. At the thought of the treasure in the quicksand river that Fang Qingshan valued so much that he did not hesitate to take out the timeless ark and make such a big fuss, many people could not help but feel regretful, especially Monk Sha. Back when the Purple Cloud Palace divided the treasures, Sanqing was the one who obtained the highest quality and quantity of Dharma treasures. However, there were too many Tontian disciples and many primitive ones. He was the only one who only had one disciple. Even with the addition of Fang Qingshan, how could he lack treasures? Back then, the great Taoist Master Xian Du had used the floating flame flag, the map of the universe, and the 8 sceneries palace lantern. Although Fang Qingshan did not see any other Dharma treasures, the timeless ark alone was worth 10 or even 100 Dharma treasures. With his eyesight, how could ordinary magic treasures enter his eyes? Unfortunately, those who were slow would not get them. The quicksand river had already been taken away by Fang Qingshan. Naturally, they could not make Fang Qingshan spit out. They did not have the ability to do so either. Hence, there was nothing for them to do. Fang Qingshan did not know about the reactions of others. Even if he knew, he would not care. He used Guanyin as a stepping stone, coupled with his identity as the disciple of Laozi. Even if someone wanted to deal with him, they would have to consider whether they could surpass Guanyin and whether they could withstand the anger of a sage. At this moment, he had more important things to do. First, he had to take in the quicksand river. He used the timeless ark to separate the quicksand river. The simplest way was to find a space Dharma treasure and put it in. However, this method was not taken by Fang Qingshan. That was because it was just changing the location of the quicksand river. Nothing else would change. Chapter 776. It would have been fine if it was just a change of location, but the key was that ordinary spaces were definitely not comparable to the original place of Quicksand River. Any place that could contain heavenly treasures would definitely contain the Tao of heaven and earth, or a natural formation, or a feng shui formation, etc. Especially since Quicksand River was originally located on the node of the western ancestral vein. Although the node was sealed successfully because of the completion of the calamity, the effect would probably be greatly reduced compared to the original. But in the end, there was still some effect. If it was placed in other ordinary spaces without the advantage of the earth vein, it would probably take longer to incubate. Therefore, Fang Qingshan chose another path. That was to put Quicksand River into the sail of the timeless Arkansas. In this way, not only could he open up a sail unit, with the blessing of the timeless ark, it was not inferior to the earth vein. Moreover, it could actively promote the nurturing of the magic treasure and speed up the formation of the magic treasure. It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone because opening up the sail could strengthen the foundation and power of the timeless Arkansas. And the timeless ark could also enhance the sail. This was a complementary and win-win process. Rumble. As the waterfall formed by Quicksand River rushed towards an empty sail. In an instant, it was like a whip, a giant dragon, striking the water for 3,000 miles, stirring up clouds like arrows. For a moment, the entire empty sail seemed to experience a scene of the creation of the world. Chaos was destroyed, directly turning into earth, fire, water, and wind, tearing apart wildly. Time, space, Yin, and the 5 elements all evolved from the 4 images of creation at this moment. Fang Qingshan could not be more familiar with the scene in front of him. He had already experienced opening up the sail world several times. He was already familiar with opening up the sail world of witches, monsters, blood, and mixed elements spiritual liquid. Moreover, this time, the heavenly vessel had been promoted to an unparalleled level and had experienced the blessing of eternity. It could not be mentioned in the same breath as it was in the past. With the Lightning Emperor directly controlling it, with the support of the heavenly vessel's power, opening it up was even easier. After the timeless ark ascended to the unparalleled realm, it could already suppress ordinary demi-saints. As the spirit of the timeless ark, the Thunder Emperor was equivalent to the primordial spirit of a demi-saint. With his help, the world of sails began to change rapidly. A grotto heaven with a circumference of 1,000 miles appeared from nothing, and it was evolving at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, the land was barren. It looked very desolate. Now that the timeless ark was no longer binding the quicksand river, it returned to its original size. It was unknown whether it had opened a grotto heaven and received the blessings of heaven and earth, or whether it had received the blessings of the timeless Arkansas. The original 800 miles of quicksand river had now broken through to the size of 1,000 miles, filling up the entire paradise. Furthermore, it was shining brightly, appearing exceptionally strange. It had an unusual charm. Because of the timeless ark's intentional tilt, the eternal sand of time and space's transformation was more than twice as fast as before. Not only that, but because of the opening of the sail unit and the paradise, the eternal sand of time and space had already begun to fuse with the 3,000-week water. Although it was just the tip of the iceberg, as long as the beginning was made, the rest was only a matter of time and speed. Now, the sail unit that Quicksand River had opened up was even better than the previous few units that had been opened up. After all, this was a place that could nurture at least a high-grade, primordial spiritual treasure in the future. It might even be a supreme-grade, primordial spiritual treasure. Even in the future, when the spiritual treasure matured and was taken away, leaving only the 3,000-week water behind, it would probably not be weaker than the other sail units. After all, the 3,000-week water itself was not weak. It was the life item of the 4 spiritual monkeys of Chaotic World, the red scorpion horse monkey. Moreover, because it had fused with the eternal sand of time and space, it would also carry space-time attributes. Although it did not transform into a higher grade of pure water, its power would still increase qualitatively compared to before. After successfully moving Quicksand River and opening up the sail unit, Fang Qingshan did not leave Quicksand River immediately. He was not someone who only cared about killing and burying. Although he had used the timeless ark to separate Quicksand River because of the successful sealing of the ancestral vein node, and was very careful, it still changed the landscape within 800 or even 1,000 miles. If not for the harsh living environment within the vicinity of Quicksand River, where there were not many normal living creatures, let alone monsters, the karma would probably be even greater. Regarding this, Fang Qingshan naturally had to do some remedial measures. This way, he could reduce the karma, and it was just a small effort for him. It was something that did not cost him much, so he naturally did it. However, Fang Qingshan flicked his finger, and a few drops of golden water fell onto the riverbed of what used to be Quicksand River. Not long after, a brand new river surged out. Tiany true water. As the saying went, when the sky gave one water, the earth gave 60% of it. This was also a type of top-grade spiritual water. One drop could turn into a lake. Although it was not as good as the 3,000-week water, it made up for his mistakes as much as possible. Just as Fang Qingshan put away Quicksand River and was about to return to Two World Mountain, the 6-eared macaque that he had not seen for a long time came looking for him. "Master!" "Huh? 6-ear, why are you back?" Fang Qingshan was very surprised to see the 6-eared macaque. In particular, he noticed that the 6-eared macaque's cultivation had improved again. Although he had not broken through the shackles of life and death, with the 9 transformations origin art and the Tai Ching immortal art that Fang Qingshan had taught him, his strength had completely surpassed the Sun Wukong. "Master, I found another place with a Khanate formation, but I can't break it, so I have to trouble you." The 6-eared macaque smiled. Actually, the 6-eared macaque could have kept this from Fang Qingshan at all. He could have opened it himself when his cultivation was higher and he was more knowledgeable, or when he specialized in formations. However, to the 6-eared macaque, although the treasures were great, even if they were Khanate spiritual treasures, he valued Fang Qingshan's kindness more because of what he had gone through. This was because Fang Qingshan had reintroduced him to the path of Tao, helped him break through the crisis of life and death, and opened up a new path for him. Therefore, The six-eared macaque did not have any other thoughts. Since he could not break it, he would tell his master. This was what they had agreed on before. Oh, where is it? Although Fong Qingshan yearned for a peerless great spirit treasure, however, a gentleman loved money in a proper way. He still had a bottom line in his heart. This was because the treasures were related to his disciple, the six-eared macaque. Therefore, Fong Qingshan had cut off his desires a long time ago. He had said that if the six-eared macaque could break the formation, he would take the treasures himself. If he could not, the six-eared macaque would come looking for him. However, Fong Qingshan did not have high hopes for this. For one, there were very few treasures to begin with, and the supreme ones were even rarer. Even if he could not break it now, could he not break it in the future? Therefore, he had always held the attitude that if he could get it, he would be lucky. However, since the six-eared macaque had come looking for him, Fong Qingshan did not pretend to be aloof. Chapter 777. Fong Qingshan was very interested in the connate formation that six-eared macaque could not open. This meant that there was another treasure hidden inside. With six-eared macaque's current cultivation level and his special abilities, ordinary formations were not difficult for him. Anything that he could not open must be a treasure, especially when Fong Qingshan heard from six-eared macaque that the formation seemed to be above the defensive formation of the Otherworld Bridge. This was even more valuable. One had to know that the Otherworld Bridge was already a top-notch connate spiritual treasure, because it had the power to stabilize the earth, wind, water, and fire. It could break through the void. While it was not as good as the top spiritual treasures like the connate five-direction flags or the three books of heaven, earth, and man, it was not much worse than Immortal Luya's solar wheel and lunar wheel. Although the defensive formation was a defensive formation, the defensive formation of a supplementary spiritual treasure was definitely not as offensive as the defensive formation of a killing spiritual treasure. However, it had to be at least of the same level. This meant that the power of the defensive formation of a killing spiritual treasure was above the defensive formation of a supplementary spiritual treasure. This meant that the spiritual treasure hidden inside was at least not weaker than the Otherworld Bridge. Most importantly, now that the timeless arc had advanced to the unparalleled level, there were 3 more empty spots on the eternal divine furnace waiting for Fong Qingshan to fill. Of course, Fong Qingshan had no lack of top-notch connate spiritual treasures. Not to mention the Xianyuan water manipulation flag and the solar and lunar pearls. He had already obtained 3 top-notch connate spiritual treasures from Immortal Luya. However, not every spiritual treasure could allow Fong Qingshan to integrate with the timeless Arkansas. The Xianyuan water manipulation flag was fine, but Fong Qingshan could not bear to give it up. The solar and lunar pearls were fine, but there was nothing special about them. As for the 3 top-notch connate spiritual treasures that he had exchanged with Immortal Luya, while they were top-notch, they had never caught Fong Qingshan's attention. He would rather have nothing than have something inferior. Not to mention the fact that the previous spiritual treasures that he had integrated with were the Death Scythe and the Passing Water Lamp. The 3 empty spots were obviously not inferior to them. At the very least, the timeless arc's attack, defense, or support functions should be enhanced. Another reason was that Fong Qingshan was taking the comprehensive timeless arc route. Although he was lucky, there were 9 spots on the eternal divine furnace at the beginning, but that was no reason to waste it. If he were to incorporate weaker, more common treasures, not only would it be a waste of the eternal unit slot, but it would also lower the foundation of the timeless Arkansas. It would be a waste of the numinous treasure that he had fused with earlier, and all his previous efforts would be wasted. That would go against the original intention. Moreover, recklessly wasting natural resources would result in being struck by lightning. So, Fong Qingshan would rather kill the wrong person than let a top-grade natural spirit treasure escape. Where is it? Fong Qingshan quickly asked. West Ocean. Six-Eared Macaque replied. During this period of time, Six-Eared Macaque had visited almost every place except Western Henia Prefecture. He had even gone to North Continent and the ruins of Mount Buzhou. He had almost lost his life. especially when he was near Pangu Palace. He had been chased by a Wu people's grand wizard for millions of miles. If not for the fact that the Wu people could not leave North Continent, Six-Eared Macaque would not have been able to hold on and asked Fang Qingshan for help. However, although he had worked hard for half a day, his gains were not satisfactory. Over the years, Six-Eared Macaque remembered hundreds of treasure locations. Unfortunately, they were basically the same as Western Hinyu Prefecture. Most of them had either been taken away or were no longer in their original places due to the changes in the mountains and rivers. Because of the changes in the terrain and environment, some of them were destroyed before they could be successfully nurtured. It was a pity. Fortunately, it was not all for naught. After going around in circles, there were still about 10 left. Six-Eared Macaque could break the ceiling array formations in other places and take away the treasures. However, the places where he could break the array formations would obviously not have anything good. The best among them was only a mid-grade Khanate numinous treasure. However, its power was not bad, almost on par with superior-grade Khanate spiritual treasures. More importantly, this item was very compatible with him. It was a stick-shaped spiritual treasure called the Wind Devil Stick. In the hands of Hexaear, not only could he unleash its full power, but he could also greatly enhance it. Compared to Yuan Hong's Waterfire Cudgel, it was slightly inferior to Monkey Sun's ocean-pacifying Godly Needle. Of course, it wasn't the power that was lacking, but the effectiveness. After all, the Jingu Bang was a postnatal karmic spiritual treasure. Killing people would not be tainted by karma, and it could even suppress fate. Although the Wind Devil Rod was an innate, it couldn't compare to this. However, it was enough for Hexaear. As long as he survived the tribulation of life and death, he wouldn't have to worry about luck at all. Moreover, he was now a disciple of Rin School. His destiny was one with Rin School, so there was no need to worry about that. After all, Rin School had two supreme treasures, the Taiji painting and the mysterious yellow pagoda of heaven and earth. In addition, there were few disciples in Rin School. He was not worried that someone would ruin his luck. Therefore, for the disciples of Rin School, luck was not a problem at all as long as they didn't court death. Other than the Wind Devil Rod, the other 10 items included inferior-grade Khanate spiritual treasures, Khanate spiritual roots, exotic minerals, and so on. However, for Hexaear, other than increasing his foundation and providing him with Dharma power during a breakthrough, they weren't of much use. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Fang Qingshan grabbed the Six-Eared Macaque and moved his feet. A beam of divine light shot out, piercing through time and space, crossing the sky and the earth. In the blink of an eye, it had traversed thousands of mountains and rivers, thousands of years, and in an instant, it arrived at the place that the Six-Eared Macaque had pointed out. The Nirvana Bridge. Compared to Fang Qingshan's rainbow transformation technique, Six-Eared Macaque's somersault cloud was much faster. As long as there were coordinates, he could also teleport. It was really a must-have weapon for home travel, killing, and robbing. When they arrived at the place where the treasure was hidden, Fang Qingshan couldn't help but sigh. If Six-Eared Macaque hadn't led the way, he probably wouldn't have been able to find this place, even if he turned the entire West Ocean upside down. Although this place was in the West Ocean, it was like the 3 deity islands of the East Ocean, and it was even more secretive. This was an independent space attached to the West Ocean. The most important thing was that this place seemed to have merged with the entire West Ocean. Therefore, if the stability of the West Ocean was not broken, one wouldn't be able to find this place with ordinary means. Back then, Six-Eared Macaque had found this place by chance. It was also because of the great war between sorcerer and demon. Mount Bujo collapsed, and the heaven and earth were shaken, revealing a flaw in this place. Coincidentally, Six-Eared Macaque, who was hiding in the West Ocean, discovered it. It turned out that Six-Eared Macaque couldn't break the formation and take the treasure. Moreover, because it wasn't accepted by everyone, he wouldn't tell anyone else. Therefore, with Six-Eared Macaque's death, this place was once again buried in dust, and no one knew about it. Great! Great! When they arrived at the place where the treasure was hidden, although it was only the periphery, Fang Qingshan had already confirmed that the treasure was still on the Nirvana Bridge. Chapter 778. No wonder the entire West Ocean is so barren. It turns out that all the talents have been gathered on this treasure. After careful observation, Fang Qingshan could not help but sigh. Huava Mountain was known as the ancestral vein of the 10 continents and the dragon of the 3 islands. This place was the gathering point of the ancestral vein of West Ocean. The 4 seas of desolation were definitely not weaker than the desolation continent. Otherwise, how could they have nurtured the dragon race, which had dominated the world in the primordial times? Even though the dragon race had declined, they had never disappeared from the world. They would appear from time to show their existence, although most of the time they appeared as clowns. For example, the 8 immortals crossing the sea, Neza making trouble in the sea, Monkey wrecking Dragon Palace, and so on. However, he still existed and was known by everyone. As for the equally famous birds and beasts, the phoenix lived in the undying volcano, and the Qilin hid in some corner. They were rarely heard of. Among the 4 seas of the primordial world, the East Sea was the most famous one. The East Sea was the one with the most incidents, and it was also the one with the most outstanding people. The East Ocean had the 3 Immortal Island and the Golden Turtle Island. The ancestral dragon, the patriarch of the East, the Grand Master of Heaven, and many other top experts had appeared there. The Lich Demon Massacre happened on the shore of the East Ocean, the East King Guild and the Dongwang Tai happened in Penglai, and the 10 days of sea bathing also happened in the East Ocean. Compared to the other 3 seas, they were much weaker, especially the West Ocean. Although the North Ocean was barren, there was at least the great god Kuan Peng and the black turtle that supported the sky. The South Ocean also had the Guanyin of Mount Putoa. Only the West Ocean was unremarkable. There were no outstanding figures, no grotto heavens, and no treasures. It was as if this place was like the North Continent, barren and unruly. After all, the North Continent was famous for its dangerous terrain and monstrous resentment. The West Ocean was not even famous. It seemed to have been subconsciously forgotten by everyone. Fang Qingshan used to find it strange, but now he understood. As one of the 4 seas of desolation, the West Ocean was not a useless place with no people, no land, and no treasures. It was just that most of its energy had been spent on nurturing this treasure, and it had consumed the providence of the West Ocean. Lu'er, take this treasure and seal the space outside. Fang Qingshan observed for a while and did not rashly try to break the formation. Firstly, this formation was different from the protective formation of the Permitha Bridge. It was a Khanate killing formation. Secondly, although this place was hidden, once Fang Qingshan tried to break the formation, the commotion would probably spread out. Not to mention that the treasure here was no small matter. From Fang Qingshan's point of view, it was probably a treasure that was not weaker than the Xinyuan water manipulation flag. Moreover, it was a killing treasure. Even if it was the bridge of the Nirvana realm, he did not want to complicate matters. Previously, when he defeated Guanyin, lit up the timeless arc, and subdued the quicksand river, he was already very high profile. Once the matter of him collecting the treasure was leaked, not to mention others, the Buddhist sects would definitely be very willing to interfere. Even if they couldn't snatch it, they would definitely be very happy to cause trouble for him. Therefore, as a precaution, Fang Qingshan handed his natal spiritual treasure, the 5 elemental spirit pearl, to 6-eared macaque. He asked him to set up the lesser Khanate 5-direction formation to seal off all movements and heavenly secrets, and to preside over it. The effect of a formation was completely different whether or not there was a person presiding over it. Without a person to maintain the formation, not to mention its power, its flexibility was much lower, and it was easy to show flaws. Only when there was someone presiding over it could its power be maximized. Yes, 6-eared macaque nodded solemnly and took the 5 elemental spirit pearl to prepare. Then, Fang Qingshan communicated with the Hong Meng immortal qi in his mind. Although he did not refine this divine item, it was still possible for him to conceal the heavenly secrets. Next, it's time to break the formation. Fang Qingshan took a deep breath and sat down cross-legged. The Bodhi would flew out, and he used the yin-yang eye. The passing water lamp shone. Hundreds of millions of formation runes collided in his mind, and sparks of wisdom burst out. However, Fang Qingshan's attainments and formations were limited, even with many auxiliary methods. If it were an ordinary formation, it might be possible. But the formation in front of him was exquisite, and it gathered 99% of the West Sea's spiritual qi. Especially because it was a killing formation, it was even more difficult. 2 days, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 100 years after a long time, Fang Qingshan did not understand the profound meaning of the formation at all. Seems like I can't use tricks. At a certain moment, Fang Qingshan opened his eyes and couldn't help but sigh. Generally speaking, there were only 2 ways to break the formation. One was to figure out his pattern and open the door with the key. This way of breaking the formation was simple and safe. The only trouble was that it required a high level of attainment in formations. The other was to use force to break the formation. No matter what kind of formation it was, he could use his dermic powers, divine powers and laws to crush it. Now, the first method was obviously impossible. Of course, if he had enough time, Fang Qingshan could still comprehend it bit by bit. However, he did not have much time left in the journey to the west. If he did not comprehend it before leaving, he would have missed it for nothing. That would be too late for regrets. Therefore, there was only the second method left for Fang Qingshan. However, with Fang Qingshan's cultivation, it was obviously a pipe dream for him to break this Khanate killing formation. Fortunately, he was not fighting alone. He still had the timeless Arkansas. He took a step forward, and in an instant, the stars moved. Then, as if some emergency mechanism was triggered, before Fang Qingshan could react, an overwhelming attack had already arrived in front of him. Buzz! The entire formation world trembled. Then, 3 sharp swords appeared out of nowhere, like pillars in the sky. One was in the sky, like a god looking down on the world, high and mighty, rewarding good and punishing evil. One was on the ground, exuding a ghostly aura. In hell, hundreds of ghosts walked at night. One was in the world of mortals, with karma interweaving into a net that no one could escape. Heaven, earth, man, 3-talent sword formation. Heaven emitted murderous intent. The stars moved. Heaven used the heavens as an opportunity to merge with the supreme Hongjun Tiandao. When cultivated to the extreme, one could reach the state of being one with heaven and man, then use the power of Hongjun Tiandao for one's own use. Earth emitted murderous intent. The dragons and snakes rose. Earth used the power of the desolation of the earth as its foundation. When used for defense, it could be as solid and unshakable as the earth. When used for offense, it would be like the desolation of the earth. Man emitted murderous intent. The world turned upside down. Man referred to the desolation of all living beings. The Tao of heaven took from the surplus and made up for the deficiency. The Tao of man made up for the deficiency and served the surplus. Not only did this formation have a mortal world and karma entanglement, but could also borrow strength to fight strength, turning the enemy's strength into one's own. The swords trembled, revealing their sharpness. Then 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 4 became 8, 8 became 16, so on and so forth. In an instant, thousands of swords appeared in the sky. Then the 3 main swords rotated gently, and suddenly thousands of divine swords rotated at the same time. The tornado-like sword chi vortexes were like rolling snowballs, growing larger and larger. The terrifying devouring power, the immeasurable strangulation power, the penetrating power of the sharp edge, in an instant, it swept towards Fang Qingshan with an overwhelming force. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.